Anyway, where was I? So yeah, there's a lot that took place. We're gonna obviously talk about all of it and more. First, let's hear some analysis from Good Morning America, and then I'll use that as a jump off point to talk about some other things.
Knicks fans, this is not a dream.
This morning, a 53-year drought has come to an end.
The Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
The New York Knicks clinching their first championship since 1973, completing another fourth-quarter double-digit comeback to take down Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs in a stunning Game 5.
These tears are tears of joy, and they are well-deserved.
In what was a struggle offensively all night for both teams, Jalen Brunson playing like the king of New York.
Brunson drives, Brunson shoots, ties the game.
He finished the game with 45 points,
He's so good.
15 of them in the fourth quarter. Jalen embraced by his father and Knicks assistant coach Rick Brunson, sharing that championship moment.
Yeah, Rick Brunson also famously was a player, from what I understand, not a particularly good one, but a player nonetheless on the Knicks bench the last time the Knicks were in the finals. So this is a really, this is a great moment for him. Obviously, his family's from New Jersey. This played a role in his decision to go to New York to be closer to his family. And so like this, it ties together so perfectly is what I mean. It's like it's a full circle moment, right? I love shit like that. Yeah, he played a total of 9 seconds in the 1999 finals. Yeah, I'm telling you, he wasn't great.
What does it mean to you to get to experience this with your dad alongside you?
The world. To be able to do this with him, I would not trade it for anything.
In the 5 NBA Finals games, Brunson averaged 32 points, 4 assists, and 2 steals, earning him the honor of the Finals' most valuable player.
Obviously, we accomplished one thing that I had written down for a long time, and it means the world to me.
And Karl Anthony Towns met by his fiancée Jordan Woods to celebrate, getting his hands on the championship trophy.
I know you picked up that trophy. You haven't put it down for quite some time.
Yeah, Knicks went and got his best friends from college as well. Yeah, winning team NCAA championship. Right? What is it? Villanova, right? I'm not that big of a basketball guy, but
Sometime. I imagine you're not going to be putting it down anytime soon.
Hell nah. I told JB before, he'll go get his MVP, I'll go get the trophy. We made a deal.
Towns also remembering his late mother, who passed away from COVID in 2020.
When the adrenaline and the cheers subside, I wish I had a chance.
it really is a team that's anchored by the power of friendship and also anchored by, like, it doesn't make sense. On paper, it doesn't make sense, okay? I'm telling you right now. It's just like, it's not, it's just like the Spurs on paper have a superstar, star-studded team. Like, their fucking rookie is dumping 26 points in game 4. You know what I mean? They got their bench points as opposed to the Knicks was like 2 versus 30. Okay. Like, it's insane. That's insane. Right. And obviously Spurs have won more and won more recently, as opposed to the Knicks. So, this was in many respects an underdog story. Obviously, Knicks is a New York team, so there's that element of like, it's a larger market, all the stuff, nicer city, yada yada. So there's like, people point to things like that, or even point to the fact that 40%, almost 50% of the entire Spurs arena was occupied by New York Knicks ticket holders, which is part of the reason why during the game, as the Knicks turned it around, you could hear it. It literally sounded like a home game for them, which was crazy. Okay?
To hug my mother in this, but I know that she's here with me. She's giving me the hug. Energy never dies. The physical may not be here, but the energy never dies. The spirit's always here. So
now the celebration continues as the team heads back to an electrified New York City that can't wait to welcome them home.
What does New York mean to you?
Everything.
So the Knicks won all 3 of the games that they played here in San Antonio in this series, and especially last night, the Knicks fans.
That is pretty fucking crazy. That is pretty crazy. And they would have had a streak. They would have had a legendary streak if it wasn't ruined by someone. I don't know who, but someone had to go around and ruin their fucking streak. You know, certain birthday boy ruins everything. I'm just saying, dude. I'm just fucking saying. Seems odd. Seems odd to me. Funny how that happens.
Really cut into the Spurs' home court advantage. It felt very easily like a 50-50 split between Spurs and Knicks fans, and that meant the crowd was going back and forth, roar for roar, for the entire game until that last buzzer sounded, and we heard that enormous cheer from Knicks fans celebrating.
Did you say happy birthday to your mod, Lake Groove? Yeah, I did. Happy birthday, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I have to reveal something. Donald Trump is Lake McGroove. Same birthday. Suspicious. Well, now you know. Yeah. Lake's probably having a great birthday today. You know, UFC event, memorandum of understanding. He's got a lot on his plate today. So, you know, he won't be moderating as closely as he normally would. Yeah, genuinely hilarious. The only game they ended up losing in 2 entire months was when that decrepit Mango showed up. Jalen Brunson is the first player since Magic Johnson to win a high school state championship, NCAA championship, NBA championship. Other players such as Christian Braun and Dante DiVincenzo have won a high school state championship, NCAA, and an NBA championship since Magic Johnson. Why are you sending me fake news? Greg Abbott posted this cringe. Ugh, I mean, yeah. I'll be honest that, yeah, the Spurs definitely are set back a lot by the fact that it's a Texas team. I'll say it. When your biggest like ride or die political representatives is fucking Ted Cruz and like Governor Greg Abbott, it just kind of makes sense. Apparently, Trump has a record of, wait, what? It's surprisingly more common than you think. San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl, Nick Bosa, one of the best defensive players in football, publicly flashed a MAGA hat during a post-game interview and doubled down on his Trump support. The 49ers lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 25-22 in overtime. Washington Commanders versus Detroit Lions. Trump was in the broadcast booth rooting for Washington, saying they have to get a touchdown. The Lions won 42-22. Trump predicted Chiefs would win and offered lavish praise for Patrick Mahomes. Eagles won 40-22. I mean, with the Knicks one, all I'll say is this. With the Knicks, MAGA Mitch played a much better game in Texas. Something I just noticed, I'm not pointing any fingers, but it's just something that I did see with my own 2 eyes. I thought that was awfully suspicious, that he felt comfortable in his natural environment. You know? Yeah. Strange behavior.
That well-earned title. Rhiannon.
Even watching at home, you could see the orange and blue.
You could hear it, too.
You could hear it as
Yeah.
well. But Trevor, what was it like for that championship game to happen?
Yeah,
while they were on the
reverse
road?
9/11.
It was still amazing, Rhiannon. I mean, generally when a team clinches a title on the road, of course, the home fans don't usually stick around for the ceremony. But there were so many Knicks fans and Spurs fans being respectful that the stadium was still well over half full as the trophy ceremony was playing out. And also, we have so many celebrity Knicks fans who are synonymous with the team who were there.
Okay, it's time to say something. I think this is the most annoying aspect of the Knicks fandom. Like, they basically treat superstar celebrities as though they're like, you know, the 6th man on the team or something. I think it's annoying. You know, I get it. Like Timothy Charlemagne has been a fucking ride or die Knicks fan when it was its most ass. Okay. That's different. That's important to recognize. That's important to give credit to. This motherfucker is not a bandwagon fan at all. I will never say that. I'm a bandwagon fan. I'm not even I'm not even that big of a fan of the Knicks, obviously, as you guys know. I'm shameless about it. I just enjoy good basketball. But Timothy Chalamet literally looked at the Knicks at its most ass post 99 and literally was like, I'm a fan of this ass team. I don't care. I will stand by this team and I will see it through. Same with Will as well. So, you know, respect to them. Spike Lee too. Spike Lee as well, his whole life. I know, I'm not chatters. I'm not talking about that. But there are a lot of celebrities that are just like, oh, I love the Knicks. And then everyone's like celebrating how much these celebrities love the Knicks and how awesome it is. Donald Trump is one of those celebrities that happens to now be the president. Okay. And I don't know. I think it's fucking annoying. Bro, you've become the biggest New York City hater. No, I just, you know, cool on that. Maybe controversial opinion, but I feel like the real superstars are the ones who should be highlighted unconditionally across the board, and that is the team. Right? What is this? You see this idiot talking shit? What the fuck is this? Oh, God, here we go. Dude, I don't care about the fucking Barstool guy who found it in his, found an opportunity to fucking get a dunk on me. Who gives a shit? Fuck him. Wemby will do great on the Guangdong Tigers. Yeah, oh, come on, dude. Okay, some of you motherfuckers are out of your dang minds, okay? Some of you motherfuckers are so insane for saying shit like that. Wemby is still one of the best players in the NBA. You're insane for that.
Court as well. Spike Lee, Ben Stiller, Timothy Chalamet, all of them going wild, really celebrating this title. But one thing we heard from every single Knicks player, though, they couldn't wait to get back to New York City to celebrate with the fans. Whit.
Great stuff, and great interview, too, by the way, Trevor. We appreciate it.
Joining me.
All right, before we get to Zoran Mamdani's interview with Jacob Soboroff, friend of the show, there was a call out. By the way, I just did Throwing Fits as well. Shouts out to Throwing Fits. I did another episode with them while I was in New York City. But yeah. Let's take a look at Zoran calling a shot like motherfucking Babe Ruth.
Yeah. All right, here's a foolproof way. If you answer this question correctly, I guarantee you'll be mayor tomorrow. Forget the primaries. We're already done with that.
Here we go.
If elected mayor, can you guarantee a Knicks championship in your first term?
Ooh, come on, dog.
Please.
We're dying.
Please.
My family is dying.
Inshallah. Okay.
What does that mean? To be decided.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, here's a foolproof way. If you answer this question correctly, I guarantee you'll be.
And he did. Okay. This is why, as I've said over and over again, like, no matter who wins, we all win. Because let's be real, this Knicks victory is one that the whole world is paying attention to. But outside of the whole world, it's a victory for the working class. Why is it a victory for the working class? Well, let me tell you. Because since Zoran Mamdani became mayor 6 months ago, New York has been on the come up. Obviously, New York is a beautiful city, okay? And yet, its reputation has been tarnished. It's been cast aside. It hasn't had a very good run under the banner of Eric Adams, a charlatan. And ever since Zoran Mamdani won the mayoralty, it has literally entered a new phase. And I can feel it. Anytime I go to New York, I see it with my own two eyes. I experience it. And I think people from outside of New York City can also feel it and experience it as well. It's surreal. It truly is a surreal experience. Like, it feels like the rest of the country is on a downward trajectory. And the only place that's actually doing tremendously is New York City. And that, my friends, has a lot to do with democratic socialism. With socialism, with communism, with Sharia law. Okay? I believe that places all around the country, places that you would have never expected, are now going to be looking for their own Zohran Kwame Mamdani. That's what I predict. It's over. Every other township in the country, no matter what their favorite team is, if it's NFL, that's fine. If it's NHL, is fine. If it's like college football, even better. They're going to be looking for a socialist Muslim. They're going to be looking for their own Muslim socialist. They're going to be like, I don't care. Give me a Muslim man socialist. Give me a Shia 12er to come and run this goddamn town so we can run this goddamn team. Okay? War Eagle, brother. War fucking Eagle, brother. That's right. Inshallah, War Eagle, we will win. This is what happens to your city. It's crazy. It's crazy. During the campaign, I thought it was a little weird and racist for the Atlantic to say Mamdani was promising magic realism, but now I see what they meant. Impossible, wonderful things are just happening every day in New York City. I mean, it has been an incredible come up, okay? New York is already look, New York is already a wonderful, yeah, Jalen Brunson espousing Gramsci's pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will, brings the championship to socialist New York City. You're allowed to think about the worst case scenario, but you got to do something about it. Things are happening in New York that I just don't even understand. I feel like it's too good to be true. Now, a lot of people are saying just move there already, but here's the thing. I want to bring that everywhere, okay? I want to bring that joy and that celebration and that upwards trajectory to other places as well, because we all deserve it, okay? This is not a socialism in one city only attitude. At the Hasanabi broadcast, we want everyone to gain autonomy in their workplaces. We want everyone to get a little bit, a crumb back.
Was over. These are people that were watching on the sides of buildings as the game was projected onto the sides of buildings. People wheeled out screens onto the sidewalks, again, across multiple neighborhoods here in New York City, with the anticipation that the Knicks would do what they just did, winning their first championship since 1973. One of those locations is where our Mark Morales is, who joins us from Central Park right now. Mark, if you can hear me, what's going on out there? Was over. These are people that were watching on the sides of buildings as the game was projected onto the sides of buildings. People wheeled out screens onto the sidewalks, again, across multiple neighborhoods here in New York City, with the anticipation that the Knicks would do what they...
Is the lighting better this way? Or worse? I can't tell. Worse? Too bright? Let me see if I can fix it. Hold on. How about now? Even worse. What the fuck? What is happening? Oh, wait. It's because of this. Hold on. No, that's not working either. You make your light bluer? Yeah, I think I can. Oh, there we go. We balanced it out. No, it's too... There it is. That works. I think. Okay. What the fuck is going on? Tasnim announces the closure of the airspace in Western Iran. Oh, buddy. Oh, boy. People were hating on AOC for this? Yeah, because it was a terrible move. Like, I just don't know why. Like, even if she's doing it, like, allow herself to be snapped, like, this is crazy. I mean, I know it's her. It's just like the leader in the house, but Pope Leo's new Archbishop of New York, Ronald Hicks, celebrates the Knicks title with Mayor Zohran Mamdani at the city's Puerto Rican festival. Getting to the point where I'm starting to appreciate how Jeffrey says the posture and expression of an axe murderer in every photo taken of him. Yeah, he doesn't know how to pose, but, you know, can we talk about De'Aaron Fox? Streamer Archer Speed just jumped over De'Aaron Fox at the World Cup. Okay, dude. It's true, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't like that she's... I don't like that she's, you know, like openly getting snapped like this. Please stop with the corny, jokey leftist analysis of sports. No, I will not. Also, you can't fucking gatekeep the NBA finals. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, if there's, I know that there's a lot of people who are like, no, sports is my thing. But you're literally talking about one of the most publicized events on the planet. Okay? Of course, people are going to take whatever their own personal interest is and you know, meld it together. Okay? It's just a pick, no shade. No, it's important. AOC also was with Zoran last night. That's an important pick too. Anyway, so yeah, of course, Israel had to do the Israel thing and engage in theft. But before we do that, here's another fun moment from a fun moment that brings both of our worlds together. I Show Speed realizes he's sitting beside New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani, and Mamdani says he's been listening to Speed's 2022 World Cup song every morning.
Who the mayor?
Bro, he's literally sitting in the mayor's seat. It says Mr. Z Mamdani.
What my chest saying? Mayor. You the mayor? Oh, nice to meet you. My fault.
We're both the mayor.
Oh, y'all both the mayor?
He's the mayor.
Let me proper introduce myself. My name's Speed. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, mayor.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
I've been listening to your World Cup song from 2022 every morning.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
He's such a good glazer. It's crazy, okay? He is such a spectacular fucking schmoozer. Oh my God, he is so good at glazing. He's so good at glazing. Look at that. One moment, insta-locked. Everybody goes, he knows ball. Everybody goes, he knows ball. Because it's true. His 2022 song, I think, was better. Croatia World Cup.
W mayor, chat. We just met the mayor. I didn't even realize I was next to the mayor. Small world, man.
Denim's right. Yeah, Speed is literally Luffy. It's true. Anyway, yeah, it's Speed's world. We're just living in it. Zoran Mamdani just got a little taste of the greatness. It's all good. Are you going to address Turkey getting beat 0-2? No, I'm not going to address that. Why would I address that? This is, that was revenge for Gallipoli, okay? That's what it was. That's what it was. It was revenge for Gallipoli. I don't want to talk about it. It's fine. It happens. Okay? It's fine. It fucking happens. Anyway, Israel also wanted to throw their hat in the ring and be as corny and as unbearable as possible. Your bagels are Jewish and they are delicious, but don't forget about hummus by the seaside, Israel in 5. What does that fucking mean? I said, these motherfuckers can't do anything that isn't a war crime. Classic theft here. Okay. Yeah. Not enough. Hummus, falafel, and now also this. Okay. Israel's trying to desperately dispel the stereotype that Jews are clever writers. Yeah. No, there's no better representation that Israel does not represent Jews in the Western world than that. There's just nothing going on there. Nothing in the tank. Anyway, where else? What else were we gonna do? Okay, so yeah, here's Mamdani on Jacob Soboroff this morning.
City Mayor Zoran Mamdani. Mr. Mayor, it's great to see you. How you doing?
What an incredible night. What an incredible morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you again. Did you get any sleep?
I went to sleep at 3:45 a.m. and like most New Yorkers woke up asking myself, did that really happen?
and it did happen. I can confirm. I saw it at a bar on the Lower East Side. You are such a diehard Knicks fan. It has been so fun to watch you go through this playoff run. I saw a video of you celebrating in the streets a few hours ago. I think you were in the West Village. Is that where you were?
Yes, that's where I was. And I think it was the same thing no matter what part of the city you were in.
I think it's really funny that, Brooklyn has his own team. What? Fox News declares that Hassan Piker is a prophet and Abdul El Sayed is his disciple. He's a disciple of a guy named Hassan Piker, America hating, Israel hating. What the fuck? Dude, they're fucking insane, dude. All right, we'll look at that in a little bit.
People have been waiting for this for 53 years. And there have been so many heartbreaks, so many near misses, so many years, every year where we've told ourselves it's the year. And for it to actually happen now, I mean, there's nothing more we can ask for as New Yorkers.
Talk to me about the energy in the city right now with the World Cup going on, with the Knicks winning the championship. Have you ever felt this way in New York City before, seen New York City so united before?
The fuck?
Quite beautifully, where it said that oftentimes this kind of unity comes in moments of tragedy, and to see it coming now in a moment of joy, it's something that I've never seen before across our city, where the nation's largest city has
That's what happens. That's what happens when you're a Muslim New Yorker. Immediately he goes, the only time I've seen New York this united was in hating people like myself after 9/11. So I'm glad. He's like, I'm glad that we're just united in our hatred of Wembanyama and a Texas team instead. One time New York is united in not hating Muslims is a good opportunity for all New Yorkers, you know?
What feels like the world's smallest town, where everyone is thinking and hoping and praying for the same thing. And now here we are, and we're just pinching ourselves and asking, is it real?
I feel like the parade announcement dropped in the seconds after the championship being clinched. What can you tell us about what we can expect for Thursday?
Well, I think first and foremost, as a fan, I'm always hesitant not to jinx anything, but as the mayor, we do have to prepare for all of the logistics.
Ratio.
So thanks to the team and partners at MSG as well as at the NYPD. This work has been happening behind the scenes just in case we were to win Game 5. And we're going to have a parade on Thursday, and it's going to be a parade that has a ceremony at City Hall. We'll be presenting keys to the city to the Knicks team, and then it will be the first ticker tape parade in Knicks history where New Yorkers will be...
Yeah, Eric Adams presents Key to the City to Diddy. Zohran Mamdani presents Key to the City to Jalen Brunson. You decide which political movement you want to be a part of, okay? Just saying. Just saying, dude. Who do you think was making better use of the Key to the City distribution? He announced the parade at 12 a.m. I know, right after the Knicks won.
Able to celebrate a moment that...
Ain't no way Adams gave Diddy the Key to the City. Yes, that is real. He did do that. Iconic New Yorker. I mean, this is a real thing that happened. So this is genuinely a thing that happened. I watched it happen. I watched it happen numerous times, actually. It's incredible. After the allegations? No, not after the allegations.
Feels like we waited an entire lifetime for, because when it comes to people my age and a little bit older, we have.
Yeah, so he's going to do the parade, and then Thursday after the parade, he's literally going to do the Bernie Zoran rally in Brooklyn for the congressional slate with Claire Valdez, Brad Lander, and Daria Liza Avila Chevalier. I was with Claire and Dari yesterday, as you guys know. I'm very proud of you, by the way, for raising $20,000 in a matter of an hour and a half. It was awesome. That was very cool. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a fun little experience where I was in the Canvas operations, doing some phone calls, calling up volunteers to get more of their support, and also bundling, which I failed at. We won't talk about that, obviously. What is this? Of course, he'd write off of Knicks win to capitalize on visibility and push his personal and political agenda campaign same day, but after work, it's dirty play. But on the edge of legality, he toes that line dangerously. This is ChatGPT. Everyone does ChatGPT. Stu Smith enjoyed it. Hassan Piker is the DSA's cheerleader-in-chief. I don't think I can physically support the DSA more. The Supercut is a perfect look at how Hassan Piker goes to bat for the DSA. Hassan phone banks for the DSA-backed congressional candidates, recruits volunteers, amplifies their campaigns to his massive audience, and tells one viewer, I don't think I can physically support the DSA more than I already have. After a few days in the Big Apple, Piker says he is still in New York because there's a lot happening in the city for socialism, while praising the DSA for what they've built and for chipping away at the Democratic Party machine. Now he's taking the act to Denver today, where he's appearing with Malak Quiroz, the Democratic Socialist running in Colorado's 1st congressional district. Dude, Stu Smith, I feel like, has gone from being my number one hater to a Stan account. Okay? It started off as a guy from, a right-wing think tank, Manhattan Institute, clipping things out of context and trying to make a controversy where no such controversy should exist. And now he's become a fan. My haters are becoming my waiters at the table of success. Shout out to Eric Adams. It's very funny. He's promoting events that I'm doing. Young, bold, and unbought, but lacking the critical thinking skills to avoid swallowing foreign regime propaganda hook, line, and sinker, he says. He had to add something in there to be like, yeah, he still sucks, by the way. It's looking quite suspicious Islamically. Ooh, I'm Zoran Mamdani. My wife is hot. My favorite soccer team won the league for the first time in 22 years. My favorite basketball team won the championship for the first time in 53 years. Fuck you, man. It's true. 2 Eric Adams mentions. He was really him. I mean, you guys know, obviously, like, you know, Zoran, I like. Eric Adams, well, that's my brother, okay? That's my kin. That is a man that is my blood. He's Albanian, he's Turkish, he's Eric Adams, okay? Tough for Zoran to ever match up tough for Zoran to ever fill Eric Adams' shoes, okay? Like all of these victories that are piecing together right now, that are strung together piece by piece by not just Zoran Mamdani, but like, you know, Democratic Socialists of America, New York City, all this stuff is it can't hold a candle to Eric Adams' legacy. I mean, Eric Adams was a giant, right? He was not a regular man. He was a legend. He will be talked about for generations. Like, we might forget about Zoran after a while. Probably not, because he's doing really well. But Eric Adams is unforgettable. The rally titled Young, Bold, and Unbought starts at 5 p.m. Sunday and is now scheduled for the Ogden Theater on Colfax Avenue after being moved twice from smaller venues. By the way, yeah. It got fucking sold out multiple times, so they had to keep moving the venue. They had to keep shifting the venue, I think. Yeah. Until Zoran Mamdani makes a YouTube video about popular knapsacks with many different locations that your next of kin could be hiding guns and drugs inside of, he will never be the GOAT. Ogden got canceled. It moved from the Ogden 2. I don't even know where it is. I think it's at the Capitol building now. Ogden pulled out. I don't know where it is. I have no idea where it is. No, bro. Diane DeGette made boss calls to cancel the event. The venue owners blacklisted us. Wait, really? Damn, you guys know more than I do. It's at the Capitol building on the lawn. They sent out a mailer yesterday saying it'll be announced today after the move to Ogden. It's a protest now? Wait, what? What the fuck happened? Wait. I'm not familiar with what's going on at all. Yeah, they mailed us. It got moved again, but that email doesn't say the new location. Bro doesn't know his plans are gone. Okay, I just texted some people to see what the fuck is up. What Capitol protest? What is or isn't it happening at Ogden? And is it a protest? I don't know. Bro, just check the Insta links. Chat keeps linking you. What the fuck is this? When did this get posted?
Class to silence us. The Ogden, RealWorks, the Stanley Marketplace, all of them canceled our contracts at the last minute. All because we're calling for Medicare for all, for housing first, for universal child care. They are so goddamn scared. So you know what? We're taking this to the people's house. Join us at the Capitol at 4 p.m.
You can lock us out of the buildings, but you can't stop us from building this movement.
What
the people's
the
voices
fuck?
must be heard. Together, let's take our power back.
Bro, this just happened 20 minutes ago. What the fuck? Yo, what the fuck? Dude, so we moved, they moved venues over and over again. I just accepted the collaboration post. What the fuck? I didn't realize this was happening. Welcome to Denver? Dude, that's so fucking lame. Yo, AEG has a monopoly on all Denver venues. Look up who owns them. Live Nation blacklisted us. Wait, what? Welcome to Denver, baby. Yeah, but Denver is supposed to be fucking woke. What the hell? I thought Colorado was like run by the wokes. Why are they all canceling? I think part of it is because I'm appearing. God damn, dude. This shit is so ass. Like, oh, God. It's so fucking nasty. Nah, it ain't woke. It's lipped up. It's just... That is whack as hell, dude. That actually is whack as hell. Denver itself is blue. I mean, dude, they're saying no to our money. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell is this? Wokes have no power, man. There can be woke people, but they're not controlling shit. No, man. Listen, they got the fucking moneyed interest, okay? They got the moneyed interest, but it doesn't matter. We have the people. Someone fill me in. Why is this on Piz right now? Because I just found out. There were like venue changes because I thought it was because like, people were showing a lot of interest, and there were numerous venue changes. And the last venue that we arrived at, they canceled last second. And Julie also dropped out. Senator Julie Gonzalez statement. Today, I'm deciding to no longer participate in the rally with the Hassan Piker at no fault of the event organizers. Multiple venues have canceled the 11th hour, and I have been told that it was a violation of the venue contracts. I appreciate Hassan Piker, Malak Quiroz, and Justin Pearson, and Representative Donna McKinney for inviting us to engage. In my remarks today, I plan to speak about the toll that crisis after crisis, outrage after outrage, and the trauma after trauma inflicts on Coloradans, while both Democratic establishment and MAGA extremists either take voters like us for granted or even worse, fail to take our pain into consideration at all. I'm hearing from Colorado voters livid and exhausted about our politics, a broken healthcare system, and ICE, thugs, the genocide in Gaza, the climate crisis, forever wars, lawlessness, and corruption, corporations surveilling and monetizing our every move. Colorado voters are rightly outraged by about our tax dollars being used to tear down institutions and values we hold dear, while working class voters are working harder than ever just to survive and afford the basics. However, instead of holding the billionaires and the corporations they control to account, increasingly we're seeing the classic divide and conquer strategy that leaves us all less safe. Too many of us are all too familiar with the alarming rise in anti-Semitism and anti-Arab hate in Colorado, in the United States, and across the globe, which leaves many feeling like they do not have a home within our movement for safety, self-determination, and peace. As an organizer who has committed my life to fight for racial and economic justice, I know that there's nothing more powerful than standing in solidarity with our neighbors and allies, not only when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Through collective action, we must address the crises of our time. I'm huge L for this. She'll get a lot of coverage because it was canceled like 3 times. She's missing so many eyes on the campaign. Yeah. I think the protest is the right decision because it will get media attention too. I mean, who knows? I tried to coordinate with having it at the University of Denver, but they wouldn't take us. What is the fear? What is the fear that these people have? Like, are all of these institutions at the end of the day going to cave and capitulate to Trumpism, to MAGA fascism? Are liberal institutions going to do the same thing? Is that what it is? Are we living in a planet now where these guys, instead of fighting back against these right-wing forces, these reactionary forces, no matter where they're coming from, they're going to turn around and say, sorry, we're going to do everything we can in our power to disrupt your free speech. Is that a surprise? You know the history? YouTuber, what? No, this is business, big business owners capitulating to, these are big business owners that are capitulating to at a time when there's unprecedented amounts of attacks on free speech. These are big business owners that seemingly are supposed to be apolitical or liberal adjacent, turning around and leaning into the right-wing smears. And chatters who say, there's no such thing as free speech, brother, it's time to learn it. Like, I understand that. But if there is this principle that we are supposed to maintain, and there's constitutional protection around this, then yeah, it's totally preposterous to try and do this kind of thing. And it has been happening more frequently with my appearances, as you guys know. In Stanford, they did the same thing. When SJP invited me to speak on campus, they literally canceled the venue that we had sold out last second. It was a 1,500 person venue. They sold it out it was sold out, and they changed the venue to a much smaller venue last second. They did that in Stanford as well. I still went and I still spoke. Because I think it's important to do this sort of thing. But it is actually like this kind of disruption does not happen to right-wingers, man. This kind of disruption, regardless of the amount of pushback that they receive from actual student groups and actual protesters and actual organizers, schools never do this kind of thing. Venues never do this kind of thing for Ben Shapiro. They never did this kind of thing for Charlie Kirk. It only goes in one direction. I find that very odd. I find that very strange. Yeah, like Milo Yiannopoulos, like people who are rabble-rousers and firebrands, but spew hateful rhetoric on purpose. Those people never got their venues canceled. There was never an instance where these venues were canceled. And what's better yet, here's what's interesting about this, okay? Here's what's interesting about this. There wasn't even any like real protests. No one was like, oh my God, Hassan's coming to Denver. I protest that. It's just phone calls. It's just shady backroom deals. That's what makes it even crazier, because it's not like there are a lot of people there. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of people who were excited to participate in this event. There were a lot of people who were excited to participate in this event. And instead, although there was no like real grassroots mobilization, real pushback whatsoever, these venues have, due to, I guess, pressure from big donors, pressure from the Trump administration, potentially pressure from establishment Democrats that didn't want this event to take place, turned around and canceled their contracts last minute to gum up the works, to move people around. It's actually shocking. Yeah. Live Nation Entertainment. Live Nation Entertainment leans blue, technically, with their donations. It's establishment Dems. There's a lot of dark money here. It's AEG, not Live Nation. It's Anschutz. They're running scared because the entire DSA Colorado slate is surging and they're desperate to stop it. Just, what a sad state of affairs, man. Anschutz is a mega GOP donor, dog.
With his disciple. He's a disciple of a guy named Hassan Piker. And American hate.
It's so funny to show this. First of all, what a ridiculous thing to say.
He hangs with his disciple. He's a disciple of a guy named Hassan Piker. An American-hating, Israel-hating, Hamas-loving podcaster who's got millions of followers. So what's happening right now in this primary season with Democrats, to me, is astounding. He hangs with a...
Dude, what the fuck? Is Abdul even a socialist? He's not. He's not. Ever since you started campaigning with and rallying with insurgent candidates, especially winning ones, the attacks have ramped up significantly. Yeah. I wish I had... I'm gonna be honest. I wish I had more allies amongst liberals. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild that like they're genuinely taking advantage of the Republican attacks, the reactionary attacks against the left flank. Not like, you know, not the heart of the established Democrats. Obviously, they understand this as a threat to their power, because they don't want to stop doing business as usual politics. I mean, you should talk to them all the time. No, I'm not talking about like fucking establishment Democrats. I'm not talking about like, I don't know. I'm not talking about like Hakeem Jeffries, okay? I'm talking about the actual liberal institutions, liberal voters, like people who self-identify as liberal. I don't think these guys understand. I'm not the reason why people hate Israel. I'm not the reason why people hate capitalism. People hate capitalism because they live in it. And they're desperate for a change. People hate Israel because they saw what Israel did with our tax dollars. And they want that to change. So it's not like this is going to go away. But what I mean is this. If any Republican went through this process, if any Republican commentator, no matter how right-wing they are, had a similar process like this, the entirety of the media apparatus would make a fuss over it. The entire Republican media apparatus would be up in arms saying, see, the liberals hate free speech. They're doing it again. We don't have a similar system. That's what I'm talking about. Even if it's like beneficial, there are moments where you bury the hatchet, okay? Even if there is like factional infighting amongst the left and the liberals, this is an instance where you bury the hatchet to fight back against the Republican forces that we are supposedly aligned in combating. Okay? That's how it works. Republicans understand that, and they let bygones be bygones all the time. They put their differences aside when it comes down to combating liberalism, leftism, and all manner of progress. Is it, what is this? Your increased vocalizations at the beginning of the media attacks have skyrocketed your popularity. They're scared of your speech. They're cornered now, and they lash out with attacks on free speech. Money interest is scared of you. This sucks, man. Also, I had a speech. Now I got to write a new one. How the fuck am I going to write a new speech? I'm just going to freestyle. Is Hassan aware of candidates getting kicked out of the rally? Which candidates? No candidate has been kicked out of the rally. From what I understand, Julie dropped out because she didn't want to do a protest, like outdoor protest thing, and that's it. God damn it, dude. So fucking annoying. Anyway, apparently Haley Stevens is also coming after me, and Abdullah Sayed. So Craig Mauger on UM charges. So University of Michigan, there was an incident at University of Michigan with pro-Palestinian protesters, okay? And the judge dropped it, and yet Kash Patel's FBI decided to restart the prosecution and advance it. Abdullah Sayed was asked about it, and he said, it's a lot more about what you're advocating for that gets you indicted or not indicted rather than what you did.
There's no world where you can target an individual, you can target their family, or you can target their business or their property. That's just wrong, full stop. And at the same time, you've got to let the justice system do its part, right? This is an indictment. And then also, did we not see the vandalism that the January 6th terrorists did? We're all pardoned now. Did we not see all of that? And now they're trying to give them a $1.8 billion slush fund? I mean, let's be clear, like, if we believe in justice, then justice should apply equally, correct? And we literally saw what they did on January 6th, and they got pardons. So I'm just saying that, like, I believe in justice because I believe that when you break the law, you should be held accountable to the law. But I don't love watching our justice system treat people differently, right, based on what it is that they were advocating for. So I just want to be clear, like, that's what we're seeing under the Trump administration. So yes, targeting people, their families, properties, businesses, wrong. Of course it's wrong. But it's also wrong when January 6th terrorists do it. And to watch the same Trump administration use these terms in certain ways, I think we all need to be asking big questions about.
Here was Haley Stevens' response.
Well, look, I'm concerned about repeated patterns of embracing political violence and being out of step with Michigan voters. I was very disheartened to see my opponent bring Hassan Piker right to the college campuses, given that Mr. Piker has said horrible things about Jews and has questioned whether America deserved 9/11.
Oh my God. Oh, brother.
It's not who we are in Michigan. Why bring that level of divisiveness to the campuses when we know that they have been rife with division?
Does she actually talk like that? Yes, she does. It's not a bit.
We need leaders who are going to showcase leadership and be the leaders that we deserve, not continue to divide us and compensate for when people commit violence or threaten violence for political purposes.
You're going to be eating crow for a while with the blowback messaging? Own it, bruh. Take a week off instead of getting permabanned? Dog, are you fucking stupid? Do you think she sincerely thinks that this is a issue that needs salience? Why would you ever give your opposition's framing any credibility whatsoever? Are you fucking stupid? Are you the stupidest person on the planet? What kind of idiotic nonsense is this? I said what I said and I clarified it in that immediate moment in 2019. The only reason why they're bringing it back around now is because they think it's a decent line of attack. It's not. So why would you turn around as a quote-unquote leftist and be like, well, you're going to be eating crow, bruh? Like, this person is a fucking AIPAC stooge, an Israel first congressperson or running for Congress, and you're over here being like, yeah, this person who actually loves the genocide and will participate in the continuation of it if she's elected into Senate is actually being sincere about her problems here. Are you okay? Is your brain all right? Is it functioning? Look at what's going on, man. You think the AEG, the AEG venues also had a decent reason to fucking cancel these events at the last second, literally this morning? You think I'm such a dangerous radical? You think that's actually legitimate? That's legitimate framing? Are you fucking stupid? Wake up. Events that pertain to foreign policy have a lot of domestic impact. Yeah. Search from Haley for Michigan, Gaza to see if this principle applies to all violence against all people equally. Have a little bit more faith. Have a little bit more faith in your fellow Americans too, because they understand what it is. They don't give a shit. So why would you turn around and lend it any credibility whatsoever? Especially because they tried to do this line of attack in Michigan and it failed. Abdul went from third place to first place in the primaries. It didn't work in New York City, of all places, when Andrew Cuomo thought this would be a decent line of attack. So why would you ever in a million years act like this is in any way, shape, or form a legitimate line? Why would you ever lend it credibility? Yeah. She's only sinisterly deploying this message in a last-ditch effort to pull voters from El Sayed since it's a two-person race at this point. She doesn't give a fuck. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Yeah, this isn't hard. Condemn Israel's genocide without equivocation. Israel's violent ethnic cleansing of Palestinians is wrong. This is simple, and any leader should be able to say so. The fact that my colleague cannot bring herself to say this is concerning. The USA is full of pro-Israel people? No. That's not true. Congress is full of people who are pro-Israel. America is not. If that was the case, AIPAC wouldn't have to hide their funding vehicles. AIPAC wouldn't have to run ads that have nothing to do with Israel against critics of Israel. You're just wrong. Congress is full of pro-Israel people. Americans are not pro-Israel at all. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous statement. There's a reason why. There is a reason why the Israeli lobby never openly mentions that this particular candidate they're funding is actually pro-Israel in their campaign ads. They never touch on it. Why? Because they understand that most voters either don't care about Israel or despise Israel. And Israel's popularity has already shifted in the direction of Palestinians, and it will only get worse. You talk about the older generation. You talk about the older generation. Even the older generation is turning around on this. But yeah, understand what's taking place here, okay? You have a Chuck Schumer-backed candidate running for Senate taking credit for the Trump administration's unjust prosecution of student protesters with trumped-up charges and defending it while simultaneously criticizing her opponent, who is showcasing the disparity between January 6ers and those who are now in the crosshairs of prosecution by the FBI. This is where that uniparty approach comes into play. This is who we are trying to defeat. You have to understand this. Eyes on the prize, please. Never give Nazis ammunition. Never. Never allow your opponent to frame the conversation, ever. Here it is. Haley Stevens' consultant is siding with the Trump administration's prosecution of anti-genocide protesters. When people tell you who they are, believe them. Abdul once again cannot condemn violence without keeping score. Leadership is not about keeping score. On the one hand, these people are supposed to be running against Trumpism. On the other hand, when Trumpism actually comes after critics of Israel, they're on board. So I guess there is a fucking higher priority here for people. That's why I don't have issues saying some of these people who are running for office care only about Israel. And Israel is a holdover for numerous corporate interests as well. It's not just about Israel. When I'm talking about Israel, it's, in some instances, it is literally about Israel. But in many other instances, it's also about where the candidate's priorities are. Will this politician represent your interests as Michiganders, or will they represent the interests of corporations? Will they represent the interests of foreign lobbyists? And it's very clear where Haley Stevens stands on this issue. And that's precisely the reason why AIPAC is dumping like 20 million so far into this race to prop her up while simultaneously attacking Abdul. It is disgusting. For how much longer are we going to allow a foreign country to subvert our democratic process? We are not a country if we allow corporations and foreign lobbies to dominate the democratic process. Okay, I don't care that people are defending her voice on Twitter, man. God, you're fucking so stupid. Who cares? It's got 72 fucking likes. Who cares? Hassan, do me a favor and shut the fuck up, you weirdo Nepo baby. Don't worry, brother. Donald Trump is actively trying to make that happen. You need Zen, Chill Pill, Grill Max, my friend. I mean, I just found out that this rally that I was supposed to participate in that we set up for a month now at this point got canceled fucking for the third time. And the last venue that we landed on canceled this morning. There's a reason why that happened. And that reason is because they don't want people to fucking participate. They don't want people to show up in large numbers. It's incredible, dude. Yeah, it's at City Hall now. Yes, I will still. I'm here for that reason. Cries I was going to go, you still can. So yeah, show up at the Capitol. That's where it's going to be. God, it's so fucking annoying. The next play, my guess, is the deny protest permit, knowing these scumbags. I don't fucking know, man. I don't know. I don't know why they're so afraid. It's insane. Liberals doing this is extra insane. Liberals doing this is I'm not going to lie. And before people go, oh, I told you so, don't be fucking annoying, okay? Now is not the time for I told you so's.
Your first sport. Yeah. And you're walking with a congresswoman. Yes, oh my gosh, please.
Well, thank you so much for your community service.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering, with all the support of Republicans and people who are anti-choice and people who are working to disrupt our election systems that AIPAC is doing, I'm wondering why you're accepting their support. I'm a Jew and my family lives here in this community. Yeah. And I really think that those kinds of candidates are making the Jewish people less safe. I'm wondering why you're accepting there.
Well, thank you so much for coming and bringing your kiddo. It's so nice to meet with you.
It's nice to meet you too. I'm just wondering, I want to make life and this country safe place for him to grow up in. I'm wondering why you would want to accept their endorsement and $800,000 in ads this year.
Yeah. Guys, I have, I think I've got a lot of local labor. And
You are a great representative and we really appreciate your support. I'm just hoping.
You guys.
Oh my God, guys.
Anyway.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Appreciate you being here. So what does it say, Mr. Lander, about the mood in the Democratic base that we're seeing these very progressive and even left-wing candidates winning in a number of key primaries over candidates backed by party leaders?
Yeah, I think it says voters are fed up with corporate Democrats who haven't fought hard enough for working people. Price of housing going up like crazy, childcare, healthcare. People want to see Democrats who stand for something, who put their bodies on the line, who play politics as a team sport like our Knicks did last night, and not like a cage match like Donald Trump is putting on today.
You had called yourself back in 2016, a Brooklyn Democratic socialist. Do you still consider yourself a socialist?
Now, I'll note that that was my endorsement of Hillary Clinton, so I would do that one different if I could do it again, honestly. I am not a DSA member. I'm a longtime progressive, a Working Families Party member. But yes, if by democratic socialist do you mean, do I want Medicare for all? Do I want to make sure that folks can organize unions? Do I want to make sure we're getting to universal childcare and investing a lot more in housing everyone can afford? Yes.
On the eve of a potential US-Iran deal that could end the war, Israeli missiles hit southern Beirut this afternoon, raising fears that such attacks could derail and undermine negotiations. 2 people were killed and 4 others were injured in the strikes, but the survivors refused to give in.
We stayed here and didn't flee throughout the whole war. We're not afraid. We will not leave our home no matter what happens. But today, we didn't expect this targeting to happen.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this is in response to continued attacks from his...
They did this on purpose. For those of you who are wondering why this happened, it's because Trump kept floating the idea that the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, is close to being finalized, close to being signed by Iran. And Benjamin Netanyahu could never let it happen, of course.
On northern Israel. Iran has repeatedly insisted that Lebanon must be part of any broader agreement. With Iran's top negotiator, Mohammad Khalibaf, posting on X today, saying the United States either lacked the will to fulfill its commitment or the ability to do so.
I think Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to assert his authority and separate the U.S.-Iran negotiations from the Lebanese-Israeli negotiations. And this uptick of military activity could very well be designed to derail the signing of this memorandum of understanding and perhaps spoil the prospects of an agreement.
And U.S. President Donald Trump agrees. But he was less polite, telling Fox News he called Prime Minister Netanyahu and said, "What the F are you doing?" He also posted on Truth Social and said the attacks on Beirut should not have happened, particularly on a special day when we are so close to a peace deal with Iran. The agreement will extend the ceasefire for 60 days, but crucially, it will reopen the Strait of Hormuz immediately. In return, the US will lift its naval blockade and release frozen Iranian assets. But Iran's nuclear program will still be negotiated within the 60 days. Tehran, in the meantime, will agree to neither produce nor acquire nuclear weapons.
This is the beginning of what could be the endgame. But like we've seen in the Gaza peace plan, there is a nominal ceasefire. There continues to be violence, and there hasn't been any movement forward from phase 1 to phase 2.
Today, President Trump will celebrate his 80th birthday on stage at the White House. But as he awaits an Iranian response, he may be realizing, like many presidents before him, ending a war is far more difficult than starting one.
Swami, that. Our foreign affairs correspondent Secunda Kamani is in Beirut. Secunda.
Well, Aisha, for the second time in a week, we have President Trump using, let's say, colourful language to express his anger with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over a strike in Beirut. It's pretty clear that Israel is not happy with the prospect of an agreement between the US and Iran. And so many, as you heard in that report, see this strike as an attempt to derail the negotiations at the last minute. We have to wait and see if the Iranians now decide to launch their own strike on Israel. That would, of course, likely see Israel launching further strikes against Iran, further complicating the picture. Tonight, the Israeli military say Hezbollah have fired further drones and rockets across the border into...
It's important to understand that, True to Parsi says, contrary to Donald Trump's quip to Barack Ravid that Netanyahu has no fucking judgment, the Israeli prime minister knows exactly what he's doing. With a set of strikes at the Dahia neighborhood in Beirut, he's trying to kill both the pending U.S.-Iran peace deal and the fragile peace between Israel and Lebanon that could come with it. There's further strategic dividend. Netanyahu is also seeking to preempt Iran's attempt to establish a new regional deterrence equation, one in which attacks on Beirut and potentially on Lebanon more broadly would trigger a direct Iranian response against Israel. By striking now, he's not merely targeting an adversary, He's challenging the emergence of a regional order that would constrain Israel's freedom of military action. Almost none of these concessions actually cost anything to U.S. interests. Israel's ability to bomb Lebanon is not America's problem, and lifting sanctions is a positive sum. Don't we want cheaper oil? The only real damage would be allowing a Hormuz toll booth, which won't happen. Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu not only bombed Dahiyeh in Beirut, targets far beyond southern Lebanon. Southern Lebanon is already, the areas that they occupy is already unacceptable, but this is extra unacceptable, if that makes sense. These are, civilian areas, densely populated neighborhoods. It was done deliberately as a provocation. Netanyahu is bragging about defying Trump's red line and trying to kill the U.S.-Iran deal openly, actively agitating against Donald Trump, actively agitating against Iran. Trump seemingly, according to Maariv, has recently pushed back on Netanyahu to order a withdrawal from southern Lebanon and Syrian territory occupied since 2024 as a part of the Iran deal, and Netanyahu has refused. Who's the boss? Who's the boss here? Who's the superpower here? Who's the country in charge? What the hell is going on? Actually, you speak out against Israel, you're not allowed to speak at all. You're the motherfucking president of the United States of America, and you have a pending deal. Israel gets to ruin it. What the fuck is happening, man? Trump told Israel's Channel 12 that he passed a message to Netanyahu saying he was very unhappy with Israel's strike in Beirut, which he said came shortly before he expected signing on the Iran agreement. Why did Bibi do this attack, Trump said, according to Barak Ravid. Hezbollah fired and hit the middle of nowhere. No one was hurt. And then he had to do this fucking attack, and in Beirut. It made me very angry. Trump said he received a call saying Israel was attacking Beirut an hour before we were supposed to sign the agreement, adding, I couldn't believe this was happening. This is very bad. Trump also said Netanyahu showed no fucking judgment and said he made clear to him that he was very unhappy. Despite the delay, Trump said he still believes the Iran agreement is good for Israel, saying it would ensure Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. Dude, are you stupid? It has nothing to do with the nuclear weapon at all. How is this guy still, I can't tell if this is theater or if he genuinely thought that, Israel's goals here were to denuclearize Iran. If that was the case, they wouldn't have called Barack Obama the biggest Jew hater of all time over and over again. It was never about nukes. What the fuck's this guy talking about? I think it's just theater. He knows it's not about nukes. Trump said the agreement was supposed to be signed this morning, but was delayed by the Israeli strike in Beirut. I think the signing will still happen today in a few hours, he said, but the Israeli strike shook things up. Major point of the deal, as I have stressed since the first ceasefire conditions were sent out by Iran, is restraining Israel, restraining Israel's actions in Lebanon. What did I tell you? I told you that was the most consequential aspect, and it's the hardest one to accomplish. It shouldn't be, technically, it's the easiest one to accomplish, by the way. You just tell Israel to fucking cut it out, and then they're done. And yet, Trump refuses to fucking do what must be done. Iran rejects deal signing today. Iran says no deal will be signed by Trump deadline, according to Fars. Trump keeps saying a deal is imminent. Iran keeps saying they're not going to sign it. If the U.S. closes its eyes to Israel's interests, said the Iranian ambassador, Iran and the U.S. can be very good friends. When it comes to regional stability and access to critical resources, a friendly relationship with Iran is obviously in our interest. Of course, as a part of the deal, any criticism of the Iranian government will be treated as anti-Persian racism, and you'll be fired or expelled. That's how we treat our allies. Harrison Mann wrote this last time Netanyahu bombed Beirut to disrupt a U.S.-Iranian deal 1 week ago. First, a reminder of where exactly Israel's military power comes from. The Israeli Air Force jets that bombed Iran this morning were U.S.-built, likely carrying U.S.-made bombs, and couldn't get off the tarmac without U.S.-produced repair parts, maintenance from U.S. defense contractors, and critically, U.S.-supplied jet fuel. They were able to land safely because their bases are protected by Israeli air defense systems using U.S.-made interceptors, augmented by U.S. air defense units deployed to Israeli soil and around the region, including some that tried to shoot down the most recent Iranian missile volley. Trump could effectively ground the Israeli Air Force anytime he wanted, if he wanted. If Trump is in the passenger seat for this war, he's there by choice. According to Fightix from Channel 12, Iran has rejected Trump's offer for money in exchange for restraint, saying they will respond soon. The U.S. is offering Iran economic... Oh, my God. It's literally happening in the exact same ways that I... If you were in here for the last 107 days, you've heard me describe this process. I said, America is going to try to bribe Iran to get them to stop with this, like, demand over restraining Israel. Because that is the most consequential element of the Memorandum of Understanding. That is the most consequential demand. And I told you that the American government was going to give them money. I told you that they would unfreeze assets. They would try to bribe the Iranian government to move away from their demands to force America to restrain Israel. And it's clear that that is what they are trying to do. And to the Iranian government's credit, the Iranian military's credit, to give the Iranian government credit here, they understand that that is the most consequential element, and they're not budging, at least so far. Netanyahu seeking an urgent meeting with Trump after the G7 amid growing tension between the two leaders, an Israeli source tells CNN. Israeli officials are complaining to Channel 12. An Israeli official accuses Trump of normalizing fire at Israel. Senior Israeli official tells Channel Trump's Truth Social post is a resounding slap in the face. The restrictions have gone up a level. The expectation that Israel will not strike anywhere in Lebanon does not align with the narrative of a strategic ally. Oh my God, they're such fucking babies, dude. They are so spoiled, so entitled, so unbelievably arrogant. Again, this is, you know who this is actually a slap in the face to? The United States of America. That's who this is slapping in the fucking face. Never have I ever seen a country, a political movement so fucking arrogant. One that relies on unlimited support from the most powerful nation on the planet. And if it doesn't get a fraction of that, even when the most powerful nation on the planet has a different design for how it wants to do foreign policy, the smaller party, the junior partner in the coalition, gets to fucking cry and yell and freak the fuck out. The arrogance, the entitlement, the hubris. What will it fucking take? What will it take?
Northern Israel, no side, I think, really wanting to leave any blow unanswered for. Israel had previously said it would not attack Beirut if Israel did not, if Hezbollah did not fire across the border. But what we've seen President Trump pointing out today is that the drones Hezbollah fired did not cause any real damage, and so he said did not necessitate the kind of strike we saw in Beirut. All sides, I think, trying to test each other's resolve.
Sek, are we any clearer on what the ceasefire might mean for Lebanon, where you are?
Well, not really. It's one of the big unanswered questions. I'm sure that the Iranians will have been pushing for a full withdrawal of Israeli troops along with some kind of ceasefire. I'm sure the Israelis will have been pushing back against certainly withdrawing all their troops from southern Lebanon, where they're occupying a swathe of territory. Perhaps the Israelis will make any kind of withdrawal conditional on the disarmament of Hezbollah, which is something that I think, frankly, we're unlikely to see. And so if we do not see a full withdrawal, perhaps it's quite possible, even if there's an agreement reached between the US and Iran, the conflict here in Lebanon will continue.
Sukhinder, thank you very much. Sukhinder Kamani in Beirut.
On the day Donald Trump said the U.S. would sign a deal with Iran to end the war, its ally, the U.S.'s ally, Israel, has hit Beirut's southern suburbs. The attack has angered negotiators in Tehran who say an end to Israel's assault must be part of any agreement with the U.S. And now President Donald Trump has asked Israel and Hezbollah to stop attacking each other. A few moments ago.
Yeah, this is Bill Clinton had the same who's the fucking superpower here moment with Benjamin Netanyahu way back in the day, ironically enough. And lo and behold, Bill Clinton did everything that Benjamin Netanyahu demanded. So we should have learned back then who the real superpower here is. Trump tells Ravid that Netanyahu has no fucking judgment. In reality, Netanyahu knew exactly what he's doing and is judging that an attack on Beirut rather than southern Lebanon is exactly what's needed to derail the pending U.S.-Iran deal. Listen, man, if you don't use the capabilities of restraint that you have with the unbelievable amount of control you have over Israel, if you don't use it, then you lose it. I'm telling you guys. As we covered earlier from that one analyst, like every aspect of Israeli defensive and offensive capabilities comes from the United States of America. Without the United States of America's unlimited support, Israel doesn't get to do anything here, which is precisely the reason why the United States of America could stop Israel's operations right now if it chose to do so. Unless Israel decides to go complete suicidal mode and try to use what remains of their munitions that they got from the United States of America without U.S. aid, without additional U.S. help, without any political cover in the international stage, which would revoke all other contracts that Israel has with all other Western allies as well, because that's the only thing that holds this thing together. The rest of the world is looking to pounce on Israel. Even Western countries are recognizing how frustrated their populations are. It is in everybody's best interest to say, all right, Israel, you're done. Trump is prepared to offer Iran additional concessions beyond those already agreed in order to keep his word and sign the deal today. It's not going to happen. As I've said since week 2 of EF, restraining Israel, demanding the U.S. restrain Israel has always been Iran's most important priority, and perhaps the one that's proving impossible. Everything else is bribery for short-term gains that will be utterly meaningless in the long term. From a statecraft perspective, it makes no sense for Iran to sign if the USA can't keep Israel leashed. Yeah, of course not. Galabaf has a new statement saying they can never catch any part of the pillars of resistance alone and isolated. The valiant struggles of Lebanon's brave fighters and the powerful diplomacy of the Islamic Republic of Iran guarantee the sovereignty and territorial integrity of dear Lebanon and will dismantle the crazy antics and warmongering of the Israeli regime. Spin as we spin. Trump 5 minutes ago from Truth Social says this. Senator Jack Reed, a Democrat from Rhode Island, lied when stating the deal we just made is not as good as the Obama disaster known as the JCPOA. Reed is either an outright fraud or incompetent. The Obama deal was a road... Oh, God. Bro, you can't be tweeting funny shit like this, okay? This is not funny. I'm sorry. I don't see the humor in this. If there's more chaos inbound because of your lack of interest in fucking restraining our attack dog, dude, who gives a fuck? Democrat, Obama. Like, this kind of stuff is funny when you're, dealing with domestic affairs or whatever, when there isn't a potential catastrophic situation that's imminent. Okay? One of the worst and dumbest, hence Democrats, deals ever made by the U.S. Our deal is a wall against Iran ever having a nuclear weapon, the complete opposite of Obama. Obama impeached Jack Reed. It's meant for his base, not you. I mean, even his base has to fucking recognize at a certain point that, even his base must recognize at this point that, like, Benjamin Netanyahu is just fucking straight up whipping his dick out and slapping Trump in the face with. A senior Israeli cabinet minister tells Channel 12, as far as we are concerned, Iran is Trump's issue, and he has the right to pursue an agreement, but Lebanon is ours. We must not agree to the Iranian equation, even at the cost of a severe confrontation with the U.S. A severe confrontation with the U.S. has been stated Iranian policy for years, also something Iran has committed via its status as an NPT signatory. Not much of a concession to them to state it again in writing. Yeah, original Iran nuclear deal. Under no circumstances will Iran ever seek, develop, or acquire a nuclear weapon. If the nuclear weapon was the main point of contention, the JCPOA would not be ripped apart. So whenever Donald Trump says, "Oh, Israel, what are you talking about? We're actually fucking following through on getting Iran to commit to no nuclear arms," Trump is behaving like a fucking moron. Everyone who's engaging in sober analysis here understands that denuclearization is not the fucking major point here. The major point for Israel is to destroy Iran, to rip it apart piece by piece. That's why once you fucking pulled the trigger, once you actually cast aside the past 4 decades of American foreign policy and decided to, take the action alongside Israel and blow up Iran, and it failed, you had to recalculate. Severe confrontation with the U.S. The entirety of Israeli military operations are dependent on U.S. intelligence and logistical support, and Israel would not be able to operate even a few days without this. Exactly. There is no operating without U.S. involvement for Israel. The level of cooperation within the Israeli military, even without our merger of the militaries, as the American Congress is seeking to push right now, is immense. This also proves vulnerability for Israel. Israel has never been a fully sovereign nation. That's part of the reason why they have to dump billions of dollars into this sophisticated influence peddling operation in the Western world. Israel cannot operate without unlimited American support. Okay? They don't have jet fuel for their fighter jets, and their fighter jets are actually our fighter jets, ironically enough. The munitions that the American fighter jets that are dumping, that Israel is using on Iranian soil or on Lebanese soil, are our munitions. Hence why Israel wants to merge with the U.S. military. Once they have access, they won't need our permission. I mean, they seemingly don't need our permission right now, as you can see.
He posted on social media saying this morning's attack on Beirut should not have happened, particularly on a special day when we're so close to a peace deal with Iran.
Yeah, this fucking moron just wanted a W on his birthday, by the way. That's what makes it even crazier. He doesn't even care about, like, staving off additional death and destruction. He doesn't care about regional stability. He doesn't care about global stability. What Donald Trump cares about, and he's been very clear on this, is he wants to have a nice W for his birthday. He wants a birthday gift. It's incredible. That's what the whole point is. Oh, I have my UFC event. I have, a memorandum of understanding. It's my big special day, and I'm a big special boy. Like a fucking toddler. That is what he cares about. That's the reason why he's pissed off. But clearly not pissed off enough to tell Israel to fuck off. Instead of telling Israel to restrain itself, he's turning around and trying to bribe the Iranian government into inaction here, instead of creating military deterrence, establishing and reestablishing military deterrence. That's what's also important to understand. If Iran takes the deal, if Iran takes the American deal with, like, the additional funds or whatever Trump is offering, he says he's going to offer even more. I suspect it's just going to be like direct pallets of cash or unfreezing assets that are trapped in regional banks and whatnot, assets that Iran already owns, in an effort to get Iran to not reestablish military deterrence. This would be a major mistake for Iran. If Iran doesn't retaliate in this circumstance, then Israel is the big dog. Israel is not only the senior partner in the American-Israeli coalition, but it's the only country that matters in the region. Its ambitions, no matter how bloodthirsty, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how belligerent, is the primary focus of the United States of America, and it will inevitably lead to their ultimate goal of destroying Iran. So if Iran understands that this is an existential threat, then they have to force America's hand into restraining Israel. President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke a little bit ago. Trump updated Netanyahu on the progress towards signing with Iran, possibly as early as tonight. There's reports of Trump immediately lifting the naval blockade as a concession. Dog, there is nothing that matters here. Nothing that matters more than restraining Israel. I'm telling you, there's a reason why Iran sees this as the top priority. because Iran understands that Israel is the reason why America bombed Iran to begin with. Breaking, Iran Supreme Leader Special Advisor says the order has been issued and 0 hour has arrived for Israel with missile launchers being prepared right now. Iranian state TV says Israel will be heavily bombed tonight. Yes, I have talked about Jeremy Scales reporting that Iran has a senior psychologist to understand Trump's pathology in the deal-making process. And he also said Iran wasn't the only country doing that.
We're close to a deal that will bring peace to the region, including to Lebanon, and all sides should stand down. There should be no more attacks by Israel, he says, anywhere in Lebanon, but there should also be no more attacks by any other party, including Hezbollah, against Israel. This could be the beginning of a long...
Victoria Coates of the Heritage Foundation is absolutely fantastic. She gets it like few others do. Thank you, Victoria. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and the Strait of Hormuz will be opening up for business very shortly. President Donald J. Trump. He's watching Fox and posting through it. Yeah. The U.S. plan for drawing down its presence in the Middle East was locking in a new security architecture with Israel, allied with the Sunni Arab countries via the Abraham Accords, working together to manage the region. The Gaza and now especially Iran wars have completely upended this idea, such that the U.S. is faced with a choice of many more years or even decades of close involvement in the region, or simply exiting the situation without a solid day after concept in mind. Yeah. Post-October 7, this calculation was thwarted, destroyed. It's true. Abraham Accords were supposed to allow America to withdraw its forces and allow its military cooperative agreements that they have with these other countries, these Gulf nations, in close coordination with Israel to maintain regional stability against Iran or against like whatever kind of limited militancy that might pop up with only American support if necessary. October 7 changed that dynamic. It made it impossible for the Gulf nations to come out and offer full support, political support to Israel, right? As it was conducting a genocide on the Palestinian population, the Arab population, on Muslim populations. And then outside of that, Israel's increasing belligerence in the region has made it completely impossible for the Abraham Accords to continue. So now America has to actually double down on its efforts to either defend Israel or recalculate its relationship with Israel and force Israel to restrain itself. Fuck.
And beautiful peace. Let's not blow it. We begin with Heidi Jocastro in Washington, D.C. Tell us more, Heidi, about how President Trump has reacted to the latest Israeli actions in Lebanon.
Foley, this seemed to be a pretty full-throated condemnation of the Israeli attacks on Beirut coming from Donald Trump and coming just hours after one was essentially requested by the Iranian military leadership, saying that the U.S. should have seen this coming and should have told Israel not to attack. And indeed, the tenuous nature of the moment with this extension of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran on the line here. All of that is the context for these words of condemnation from the U.S. president, saying that initially the Hezbollah rocket attacks on Israel, he called those meaningless and small because it did not result in a loss of life or injury, and him telling all sides to stand down, which includes, of course, Israel's attacks on Lebanon as well as Hezbollah's attacks on Israel. Again, all of this is happening as the minutes tick by, and Donald Trump yesterday promising that the extension of the ceasefire would be signed today, which, by the way, happens to be special in another sense that it is his 80th birthday. And now Mike Waltz, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, blaming the delay for this signing, saying that it still could happen today, that it's the president's intention for this deal to be signed today, but blaming it on Iranian negotiators. And
she's part of Chorus. Malat reposted her.
To you live from Denver, Colorado, where we are in town for the Power for the People rally for Malat Kiros, for Justin Pearson, for Donovan McKinney, and Hassan Piker is there, and that is why we're walking around outside, because we don't have a venue.
Yeah,
Cassie?
they kept canceling because we're all enemies of the state now.
I always kind of think when people are talking about Hassan, I think they're doing a bit. When they're like, oh, he should be banned from the UK. I forget that people like actually say that shit, but like everywhere in Denver canceled.
Not a bit, not a bit.
Apparently.
There is no venue.
Apparently they're taking it seriously, but...
and by the way, venues were like canceling to like... No. Venues were like threatening to cancel their lease in order to like not host the event.
They're like lying about like the technology of the video. You know what? We have bad news, which is that people are apparently being serious about this. But we have good news, which is that event was completely sold out. And now it's going to be on the steps of the Denver Capitol at 4 p.m. and all of y'all can come.
Period.
So come by, say hi, and throw some money to Malat, throw some money to Justin Pearson, throw some money to Donovan McKinney, because they're being real serious about not wanting these people to win, y'all. They're being real serious.
Throw me some money too. Don't. I don't need
No,
it.
don't.
No,
Don't.
never mind.
Okay, bye.
Dude, this is like, I didn't even realize that this is like just the open situation. I don't like this. There's something strange taking place here. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, there's a new element of danger involved with this situation now that it's like literally an unsanctioned outdoor event. I don't like it. Like these major venues, these massive venues are indoors. There's a level of security involved. I mean, the security calculation has changed dramatically. It sucks that I'm literally live while this is happening too, so I can't even like gather my fucking thoughts to figure out what the next steps are here. It feels like a level of coordination that I did not think. It feels like a level of coordination that I did not fucking think would take place at all. Fuck. What's the difference between this and protests you've gone to? The major difference is there's always an element of danger in the protests I go to, but this is like there was a different risk calculation, a different risk profile, and an established when you a month ahead of time when you say you're going to go to a certain location rather than a protest that's taking shape in like the last week or so. There's a lot less pre-planning involved in it. Okay, this is an instance where if someone were to plan something and they could very quickly move it to a much easier venue where they could actually do something that they planned, as opposed to a much more difficult situation to create some kind of risk if it's indoors. Yeah. Out in the fucking open. It's a huge, wide open area. It's very different. Just do it at your hotel with speakers? What are you talking about, man? That's not how this works. This is the dumbest conversation to have with a bunch of fucking chatters on Twitch chat too. So I don't know why I'm entertaining it currently. Anyway, let's continue with this coverage for now.
Divisions between the military and civilian leadership there. Now, there's still a lot that is unclear about the text of this memorandum of understanding that the two sides are looking at. But what has been reported is that it would be a 60-day extension of the ceasefire in which the Strait of Hormuz would be reopened. A lot of disagreement, it appears, on exactly how or when that would happen or what it would look like. And also the greater question of what to do with Iran's nuclear material and nuclear program deferred to later negotiations. So still a lot of mixed messaging in terms of when this deal might be signed, today or later, but certainly you're seeing President Trump putting his thumb on the scale forcefully, trying to make this happen today.
Just spoke with President Trump. He tells Fox News he believes a deal with Iran will be signed in the next 2 to 3 hours. I asked him about the Israeli strikes earlier today against Hezbollah in the Lebanese capital of Beirut. He tells me he spoke on the phone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, asking him, "What the F are you doing?" He told the Prime Minister not to conduct additional strikes against Hezbollah so that it doesn't affect this deal from moving forward. Now, the Israelis are bracing for the possibility of incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire, according to the IDF. And President Trump tells Fox News he will ask Iran not to respond with missile fire toward Israel, with this deal on the horizon expected to be signed tonight. All of this taking place amid the backdrop of these latest conversations to get this final agreement across the finish line. The president talked about the strikes in the middle of last week when he was hammering many of those Iranian positions, pushing the Iranians back to the negotiating table. You might remember, Kevin, I was on the phone with the president as he was in the Situation Room, and the Iranians called him and asked him to stop the bombing. The president believes that moment was able to shift the equation and again get the Iranians to make these concessions. President Trump says if they sign the deal tonight, he will immediately order the blockade on Iranian ports to be lifted and then move forward into these more detailed discussions as it relates to Iran's nuclear program.
Let's go back to the Middle East now, and Donald Trump is criticizing Israel after strikes on southern Beirut undermined peace talks with Iran. He said on social media the attack should not have happened. Well, Tehran says America isn't living up to its obligations. It comes after Israel launched strikes on Beirut this morning. At least 3 people were killed, several more wounded. Well, let's get more from our military analyst, Sean Bell, who joins me in the studio. And Sean, before I come to you, I just want to read something, some breaking news coming into us from the Reuters news agency. That's from the head of Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee. Now, he said a strong response is coming about the Israeli strike on Beirut's southern suburbs. So the head of the Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee saying a strong response is coming, which ties into the Israelis saying that they were preparing for a strike from Iran. It seems like there's a bit of a déjà vu here.
Yeah, Barbara, good evening. I mean, literally a few hours ago, President Trump's birthday, were Iran going to hand a present to him, get the signature done? It all felt we were rushing towards some sort of deal. But these Israeli strikes on southern Beirut, it's not the first time they've done that. They've claimed this as a stronghold of Hezbollah. That's why they've justified it. It does risk compromising the peace process. The really interesting point is there are reports that saying Prime Minister Netanyahu's done this quite deliberately to try and provoke that. What is clear is President Trump desperately needs an off-ramp to the war. He needs to get the Strait of Hormuz open, get energy prices down, control inflation in the US for domestic reasons, whereas Netanyahu sees a once-in-a-generation opportunity to deal with Hezbollah. He doesn't want this war with Hezbollah to be included in the main deal with Iran. And despite the fact Iran is now threatened to retaliate, the harsh reality is it's going to be a real test of President Trump's influence or indeed control of Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah, because obviously this deal isn't even fully a deal. It's a memorandum of understanding. The main thrust of it initially would be the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and then they would talk about sanctions, a nuclear deal, etc. So, I mean, even if it's signed, and Donald Trump would say it's amazing and the best deal ever, one would wonder what has actually been achieved by all of this.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, we're not there at the signature yet, but it feels exactly that question at the moment. Strait of Hormuz opens, that's great. What price will the US have to pay for that? Sanctions relief, unfreezing assets. But as you say, the key issue is nuclear. I mean, what's fascinating is that Iran's always claimed that it has no ambition for a nuclear weapon. Whatever we may think about that aim, but it's all about verification process. It's all about negotiation and time. And it's the details that matter. The last time that this was all done, it took nearly 2 years. It's fully expect that to take that long again. But there's no realization at the moment they're getting anywhere close to deal length. So practically what the war were about. If you look at the cost of the war, though, it's starting to be astronomical. The US, just the military means alone, I think it's about $25 billion they reckon it's cost. If you include the wider, the cost of energy, the cost of inflation, and the repairs that are required, you're up to almost £1 trillion. This flow of arms to Ukraine has dropped dramatically. And if you look at the US casualties, 13 US servicemen died and hundreds of injured. If I look that through the Iranian lens, very different.
We have security and marshals. I love that you, as a DSA chatter, think that you have more insight into what's going on than the actual fucking organizers that I'm currently talking to. But thank you. I know that, dude. I know that. The fuck's wrong with you, man? Why are other chatters also literally fucking highlighting this shit? Are you guys stupid? Hello? I know everything. Okay? I didn't when I first landed. When I first landed in Denver, Colorado, I didn't know shit. I only found out a couple, at this point, 2 hours ago, 40 minutes into my fucking broadcast, how much things have how much things have shifted. They're just trying to help. I know, but it's not helping. I'm dealing with it right now. Things didn't just change. They changed dramatically. Like, it wasn't like a little bit of a change. Oh, we're going to a different venue over another one. I'm so confused what happened. Every single venue that this rally was supposed to be at is canceled last second. It was always sold out. It got canceled last second. I thought it was because, I thought they shifted venues because of the size and the interest. It turns out it wasn't because of the size and the interest. It was because the venues kept canceling, including the last place we landed at that canceled this morning. Okay? And it's not like they canceled these venues. It's not like they canceled the venues because of some additional concern or there was like a lot of fucking people. Yeah, this is the fourth, I believe, venue. I'm not entirely sure, but this is the fucking fourth venue, and it's the morning of the event that they canceled it. Unsanctioned event with you speaking sounds like a pretense for an arrest. No, I'm not worried about being arrested, dude. What are you talking about? I'm not worried about getting arrested because I'm speaking at a fucking rally. That's not a cause for concern. There wasn't any negative pushback against this rally at all, which means that there is some level of coordination taking place. Fuck.
Get hard numbers, but we're talking about well over 3,000 Iranians have died as a result of that. Many thousands. That school incident, remember when the school children got killed, the economy, poverty, and the like. But Iran, of course, has emerged from this with the leadership still intact. They've still got the Strait of Hormuz in control, and actually they've got a lot of leverage ready for them. So you do wonder what this war has actually achieved.
Yeah, I mean, militarily speaking, though, there's no question that the US is the biggest power out of everyone. And yet we see President Trump, and I found the post on Truth Social very interesting. He's almost trying to coerce Israel not to keep on attacking Beirut, which he already told them not to do, and then they've done it again. He effectively calls the attack disproportionate. He says they were responding to an attack by Hezbollah, but that attack was very small and meaningless. Nobody was hurt, and effectively telling them, you know, stop doing this, but they don't seem to be listening.
No, and I think part of the problem here is they've now clearly got different agendas. Right at the start of the war, they were lockstep together. Now it's very, very different agendas, and therefore Prime Minister Netanyahu doesn't want to get his... I think President Trump must be sitting back and going, fully expecting to win, you know, superpower at war. That's not deliver success. I think what's fascinating, I think on the 8th of April is when the ceasefire's called. It's when America suddenly realised this military option wasn't working. And actually history will show that that's the point at which failure happened. I would even argue it happened earlier than that, probably the 1st of March. Why that early? Because the strikes happened on the 28th of February. They initially killed Khomeini and all the leadership. And if they'd paused then, remember there was the potential for an uprising. The Iranian leadership, number one priority is to survive. If America kept its powder dry then, it might have encouraged a change of tack. They saw through the military action. As a military guy, we've played that before. I've played Iran in those war games. It was entirely inevitable what was going to get to now. So now you end up with Trump needing an off-ramp, Iran feeling emboldened. None of that bodes well for the nuclear negotiations. And I think the history books will be laden with what on earth was this all about?
Or even the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, it wasn't an issue before the war.
No, it wasn't.
It absolutely
is now. Sean Bell, a military analyst. Sean, as always, thank you.
We face a key decision point today that has implications for the global economy and potentially could stop nearly 4 months of conflict with Iran. As we come on the air, a preliminary memorandum of understanding between Washington and Tehran has yet to be signed. But if and when the agreement takes effect, it would extend the ceasefire, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and kick off 60 days of negotiations to resolve the other big issues. Yet, even as both sides signal a deal is within reach, hostilities in the region continue. This morning, the Israeli Defense Force conducted strikes in Lebanon on Beirut's southern suburbs to target the Iranian-backed Hezbollah leadership. The IDF called it retaliation for strikes on Israel. CBS has learned the potential U.S.-Iran truce includes a vague reference to ending the fighting in Lebanon, which may not be enough for Iran's leaders. And Iran's failure to cut off support for its proxy force Hezbollah may not be enough for America's partner, Israel. For the latest, we begin this morning with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who joins us from Tennessee. Mr. Secretary, welcome to Face the Nation.
Good morning, Margaret. Thank you.
So did the Hezbollah-Israel strikes disrupt any of the plans to have this memorandum signed today? Are we on track for a Sunday signing?
From all I know, we are on track. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There's logistics involved into how these things happen. Ultimately, obviously, we're attuned to what's happening with Hezbollah firing rockets into northern Israel, which they need to stop doing, and Iran needs to encourage them to stop doing that in very adamant ways. And Israel was very measured in its response, understanding that a deal we're on the verge of a deal. So I don't expect that to disrupt. I also expect more robust talks there. The negotiations business is not really mine, but I think those talks will continue. And if Iran wants this to hold, they need to pull back Hezbollah, no doubt.
So this memorandum would be an extension of the ceasefire, as you said, with a promise to keep talking. Given how clear President Trump has been that he wants to end combat, will the U.S. troops come back home? Will those 2 aircraft carriers be pulled back?
Well, Margaret, what I would say the president's been most clear about is that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Never, full stop. And this deal, as we talk about aspects of the deal, some of which have come out publicly are totally wrong, it's performance-based. No money released to Iran until they perform. There's no trust and verify. There's no trust here, and we're going to verify everything. Nuclear material will be destroyed and removed. The nuclear program will be dismantled. The straits will be open, no tolling. This is not the JCPOA was a path to a bomb. What this deal will be a wall to a bomb. And that was the objective from the beginning, very clear from the beginning. So as far as our military posture, we'll maintain what we need to. The blockade has been a devastating success for us and impact on the Iranians. So think of this chain of events militarily, just for a second. You had 45 days of overwhelming combat, which Iran could not manage, and their Navy's gone, Air Force gone, air defenses. Then it led to a blockade, which was impenetrable now for a couple of months. And then you had the underground Project Freedom, which allowed now 125 million barrels of oil to transit the straits, showing that we control the straits. And then we did 2 more days of bombing because they weren't really coming to the table. So it's been military pressure and strength from President Trump that's compelled Iran to this deal, which will be performance-based when it's signed shortly.
Right, but we're not at that deal yet. We're not even at the memorandum. That's what we're waiting on being signed today. The U.S. and Israeli militaries, no doubt, did devastate the conventional military, as you are arguing there. But the IRGC terrorist-controlled regime, they control this country. They would be pocketing the financial benefits of being able to sell the oil if the blockade ends, as you just indicated. They didn't capitulate. They're negotiating. So how do you reassure allies who are in the region and say they still feel they are at risk? Are you keeping the force posture in place through the 60 days of negotiations and beyond?
Oh, we'll make sure the military option is there. And that's the big difference between this and JCPOA and the way Obama did it. Obama, they begged Iran for a deal, and we bombed Iran and then put in a blockade and then ran ships through and then have restarted when necessary to ensure that they come to the table for a great deal. So our military posture will be whatever it needs to be to ensure they're compelled over this 60 days through the memorandum of understanding that they live up to what they said they would do. The document says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, won't seek one, won't buy one, won't have one.
JCPOA
And in
said
60
that
days,
too.
there'll be negotiations to make that final. But they didn't have the threat of military force the way that we do, that Iran respects in a very way that their regime is more devastated than it's ever been in its 47 years.
Okay.
And that's why they're at the table. So the huge difference is we did this from a position of strength. President Trump led with military might. That military might will stay as long as necessary. You know, if the blockade comes off, then you pull back and you allow shipping to flow, just like Iran needs to allow shipping to go through the straits. But we can snap that blockade back at any point, and they can't do anything about it. And Iran knows that, and that's why we have the leverage in these talks, and we hope they'll go well. We really do.
Well, as I understand it, the first part of this deal would involve the clearing and reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. How quickly will the U.S. blockade on Iran end? How quickly will they be able to sell their oil?
Immediately is what the president has said, and that'll be our expectation of the Iranians, is that
So
it's
tomorrow
not us that
you'll end the blockade if they sign
is
it
the
today.
problem here. So again, it's performance-based, Margaret. So we're not going, unlike Obama, President Trump is smart about these things. He's not going to just give it away. So ultimately, the blockade will stay as the strait opens, and then the blockade will open, and then the straits open. And if that takes, 30 days to fully mature or 2 weeks to fully mature, but it will start immediately, as the president has said. And by the way, I think your viewers need to remember, Project Freedom never stopped, and we've run 125 million barrels of oil through the straits, and Iran couldn't do anything about it. How many ships from Iran have transited our blockade? Zero. We have controlled the straits this entire time.
Right,
this
but you're going to
MOU
negotiate
will
with them
open
to
immediately and gradually.
reopen it. So, okay, you're saying immediately, but Secretary Rubio had said the U.S. would help to clear mines.
There's no consistency in their messaging on this issue at all. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, the Strait of Hormuz is going to open immediately. We've actually blocked it. We're going to open it. Iran is moments away from signing off, but Iran is saying they're not. I mean, what we wait for at this point is whether or not Iran is serious about reestablishing military deterrence against Israel. The only way to do that, obviously, is by striking Israel. So we'll see. If they don't do that, that means... Here's the thing. Israel is gambling with Iran's strategic restraint, its capacity to just eat the cost of making a strong stance about Lebanon and then backing away from said strong stance. For Israel, the new security posture where Iran's retaliations force America to force Israel into restraint is completely unacceptable. Because here's why. Iran's ballistic missiles program is not an existential threat to Israel. Iran's ballistic missiles program and its paramilitary forces in the region have simply been an existential threat to the greater Israel project. Okay? Israel has nukes at the end of the day. Israel has unlimited support from the United States of America. Israel knows that Iran can't just kill a shit ton of Israeli civilians and make the cost far too large for Israel to no longer exist or anything like that. If Iran gets to, through the economic penalties that it dishes out to the rest of the world, to the global energy markets, if Iran can get America to restrain Israel, then what that means, and Iran is certainly not Iran is certainly not a threat to the United States at all, obviously. I think we all know that. But if Iran can get America to restrain Israel by utilizing by basically enforcing its blockade over the Strait of Hormuz, then that's an existential threat to the greater Israel project. That's an existential threat to the sovereignty that Israel has over the region, the dominance that Israel gets to have over the entire region. So it's basically a much more successful way of forcing restraint upon Israel when Israel does not want to be restrained. It's not just a matter of influence. It's not just an example that Iran gets to show. Okay? It stops. It basically abides by the whole principle of why they have a ballistic munitions program to begin with, which is to restrain Israel. If they can get America to do it, then great. Perhaps from their perspective, getting America to do it is far easier. Bro, this is weirding me out too. A lot of first-time chatters. Same day followed. Account created, followed same day. A lot of first-time chatters being like, dude, the Iran deal includes a ceasefire in Lebanon. Wall Street Journal reports Israeli officials were caught off guard by Trump's post declaring that there should be no more Israeli attacks anywhere in Lebanon. Wall Street Journal.
From the Strait of Hormuz. You just used 30 days as like a period of time. Can you clear the mines and remove the security threats in the Strait within 30 days?
We can do any of those things within 30 days in a permissive environment. So the ball is in Iran's court at some level.
So we would get
agree
back
this
to
deal.
pre-war
We're already
shipping?
doing things I can't. We're already doing things I can't talk about on this program, and that to ensure that safe passage happens as quickly as possible. So we're all over this. We know exactly what the dynamics are. Iran probably doesn't, because they can't see and sense their capabilities around the Strait, especially these last couple nights were very devastating for them as far as their ability to understand what's going through the Strait. So if they have capabilities and can do it, great. If not, if international partners who've said they want to step up and contribute, great. But once this deal is signed, our expectation is that Iran will stop shooting, drones at commercial shipping. It's been them shooting at shipping the entire time.
Yeah, they did that just on Friday. And in fact, a drone collided with an Apache helicopter last week. They fired drones into Bahrain. They fired missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan just a few days ago. They still have the capacity to
And that's why you
hurt our
have to
friends and
deal with
partners.
these folks with strength and not just ask them at the table. And it's the military strength that compelled them to this point where they're making a deal which will be great for the security of the United States of America. And that's why this is such a big moment. And only President Trump's strength and clarity of mission to say no nuclear weapon will ensure that now and underneath the MOU, the terms are set that are performance-based for Iran to ensure that they never get a nuclear weapon. That's what's critical.
So once the 60 days of negotiations, and I know that could be extended, start, that's when the nuclear program gets dealt with. President Trump posted on social media Saturday that, quote, at the appropriate time, when all is calm, we will go in and get the nuclear dust. That's how he refers to the highly enriched uranium under the bombed sites. He said, we'll downblend and destroy it, whether in Iran or the U.S. Is the goal, is the plan to have the UN do all of that?
I don't think the UN's been really effective in anything here.
The weapons
we'll
inspectors
handle
from
it
the IAEA?
as we need to. Ultimately, that could be part of it. The reality is President Trump has already set back Iran's nuclear program in devastating ways, from Midnight Hammer to this campaign, to ways that we know how far back we've set them. We're watching that material as we have this entire time.
Yeah.
And any arrangement, as I said from the outset of the program, will be performance and metrics based. You'll have inspections, you'll have oversight, whether they're U.S., whether they're international, but it'll be a throttle set by the United States through our negotiators with the military and strength as the guarantor of this. If Iran does not want to comply, then they can deal with the War Department again, which we'd rather not have to do, and President Trump would rather not have to do, but they know the type of devastating effects that have occurred on their military and on their air defenses and on their capabilities. They don't want that again. And so when we restruck twice, don't
Following intensive talks, we are pleased to announce that the peace deal between the United States of America and Islamic Republic of Iran has been reached. Both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. The official signing ceremony will be on Friday, 19th June in Switzerland. We would like to thank the United States of America and the Islamic... What the fuck? We would like to thank the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran for their commitment to finding a diplomatic solution to the conflict. We would also like to extend our sincere appreciation to our brothers in this mediation effort, the great leadership of the state of Qatar for their support in reaching this agreement. I would also especially thank the visionary leadership of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Republic of Turkey for their immense contributions in this regard. With the agreement now in place, mediators will facilitate a series of meetings this week. The Bro, this is literally a memorandum of understanding that hasn't been signed yet, that'll be signed in Switzerland. And it is the Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan that's stating this. I don't know. I don't know how reliable this is. I don't know how valid this is. Again, especially considering that Israel, from this point on, is going to do everything in its fucking power to completely pummel. This is an MOU for an MOU. With the agreement now in place, mediators will facilitate a series of meetings this week. These pre-implementation discussions will lay the foundation for technical talks and the official signing ceremony. What are the Iranians saying about it? Let's see what Dropside is reporting. Because only 30 minutes ago, a Khamenei advisor warned that a 0 hour had arrived after Israeli strike on Beirut. Ali Akbar Velayati, the senior foreign affairs advisor of the Iran supreme leader, warned Sunday that Tehran's patience had run out after the Israeli strike on Beirut. Now, this might be posturing, specifically because they will still sign it, but they want to engage in tough talk. But what I do think is, no matter what happens, if Iran doesn't establish military deterrence, if Iran does not establish military deterrence, then Israel is going to effectively ruin this until Geneva happens. Long time between now and Geneva. 5 days, 5 whole days where Israel can consistently pummel Lebanon. And every single time, including this last time when Israel hit Dahia, Israel hit Beirut, and Iran doesn't retaliate, that's another notch for Israel. That's another blow to any kind of. That's another blow to whatever military deterrence Iran had created. I remember a tweet exactly like this from the Pakistani Prime Minister before Israel declared it was not bound by any such deal between the U.S. and Iran with regards to Lebanon, and Lebanon continued to be bombarded with even more ferocity. Yeah. This literally looks like the exact same Gaza ceasefire deal where America is trying to get the opposition to Israel to cease its hostilities, and then Israel continues to
Netanyahu. It appeared, at
All right,
least,
we'll
that
go
this
to-
was a genuine attempt to derail the deal. Now, I've said before, this is quite a birthday gift, given this is Donald Trump's 80th birthday from his so-called friend. What this appears to look like is very fancy diplomatic language hiding the fact that this virtual signing is not going to happen today and is simply buying time of a few days more. And so what we have is the Pakistani mediators that have been playing a role in trying to get Iran and the United States.
By the way, this isn't even a temporary ceasefire. This is a temporary cessation of hostilities before the temporary ceasefire is implemented, where there's a memorandum of understanding that will be signed, which will then kickstart the 60-day negotiations process for a full-blown facilitated ceasefire. So this is a ceasefire before the actual ceasefire. It's unbelievable what the fuck's going on. And it's very clear, in my opinion, I think this is, some people will say Israel did this to fuck the ceasefire up. The ceasefire is beneficial for Iran, and their militant posture here was simply to get a better deal out of Donald Trump. I think ultimately this is still the very same existential threat for Iran, as Israel will absolutely, in my opinion, perhaps I'm wrong, but Israel will absolutely fucking continue to push the boundaries over and over again. And as long as Iran does not retaliate, it's just giving Donald Trump everything he wanted without Donald Trump actually committing to real security assurances for for Iran.
Reportedly has indicated to the Wall Street Journal is agreed to. But again, it's that all-important signing. And it appears that what's going on right now is that the White House, along with the assistance of Pakistan, is buying time in order to achieve that by saying that the official ceremony won't be till Friday.
OK, Kimberly, I may well be back with you. In the meantime, let's bring in our correspondent, Hasanabi bin Javed, who's on the line right now with us. He's in Doha and possibly can give us some insight into this statement from the Pakistani Prime Minister, who appears, Osama, to be saying that there'll be more talks about talks before the agreement is signed.
Well, after what we saw the Israelis do this afternoon, where essentially all hopes were dashed and the deal felt like it was torpedoes and Iranians would react, it appears that Pakistan and Qatar, the two countries who've been in the mix of things, sticking their necks out, have been able to pull it through, albeit for a later date. It is not the virtual signing that the Americans had hoped for, but it is not the complete breakdown as was feared today. So once again, these really frantic mediation efforts have now been bearing fruit for a couple of times now. Remember the ceasefire that was announced initially when Bagher Ghalibaf and J.D. Vance met, and then the extension of the ceasefire because of these efforts that have been continuing. So it appears that now there is going to be a sigh of relief for all sides. There is going to be further detail that needs to be ironed out about the language. But this has also been made possible because the National Security Council in Tehran has, in fact, voted in favor of the negotiations. Now, it appears that now the Iranians have the backing of the hardline elements, which were so far opposing any deal with the United States. Still, there is a lot of mistrust between these two sides, but just the fact that there is an agreement now in place, which the National Security Council of Iran, Donald Trump, and is being announced by the Pakistanis while the Qataris were present in Tehran, kind of gives it more impetus than because we've been here so many times before, it gives it more impetus that there might be something in the offing which is more concrete and more reliable.
All right, Osama, let's just remind anyone that may have tuned in the last few minutes that Pakistan's Prime Minister has said that Iran and the US have reached a peace deal. He said, following an intensive talks, we're pleased to announce that the peace deal between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran has been reached. Both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. But the official signing ceremony will be on Friday, the 19th of June in Switzerland. With the agreement now in place, mediators will facilitate a series of meetings this week. These pre-implementation discussions will lay the foundation for the technical talks and the official signing ceremony. Let's go live to Tehran. Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val is there. What are we to make of that statement from Pakistan's Prime Minister, Mohammed, especially in terms of the peace deal covering Lebanon?
It's very interesting because of the atmosphere here in Tehran and across Iran is very highly charged. There have been statements about imminent strikes. I mean, I'm not here confirming, I'm not talking about confirmed deadline or announcement that at this time or at this hour we will launch missiles against Israel, but high readiness, and that has been expressed by various components of the Iranian armed forces and IRGC in response to the recent to today's strikes on Beirut. So, I mean, this is a huge development, this announcement by the US president, particularly when we know that there is no confirmation so far from the Iranian side. So it's a completely reverse orientation to the escalation that has been that is being expected tonight. Which means that something behind the scenes is going on across the board. We know that the Qatari delegation has visited, probably still here in Tehran. So there is there is a race against the time to counter the efforts of escalation that are being deployed by the Israelis when they launched those strikes in Beirut. I can understand, people here can understand that there is a strong message in this announcement by President Trump. He's anticipating the situation, and he's probably sending a strong message to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that whatever he does to disrupt this process, the the Iranians are adamant that will go ahead. 4 days from now, that signing is still 4 days away from us, and there are many hours and many minutes and many seconds where anything can go wrong. We don't know what the Israelis are going to do. We don't know whether the Iranians will now calm the situation and desist from attacking Israel. So everything depends on the reaction that is expected here in Iran, whether they are along with what President Trump has said, whether there was an agreement behind the scenes before this announcement has been made, or whether it has been unilaterally made, or by the Americans without any consultation with the Iranians. That's going to be really a dangerous scenario, because the Iranians are in full gear about this situation in Lebanon, and it's just like a very interesting development emanating from that statement by President Trump. It's almost late in the night.
I don't understand
here in Tehran. We don't know
why people, including Trita, are claiming that this is definitely done. I don't know why, because if the calculation is, and Trita is saying this as well, the deal's cut, Netanyahu failed. If the calculation is that, what's his face? Israel gets to do whatever it wants, and as long as Iran doesn't retaliate, there's a deal cut. But a key part of the deal is for America to restrain Israel, then the deal is not done. The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is not complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow.
Was, especially in Lebanon, that this was an attempt to sabotage the deal, and it wouldn't be the first time Israel has done so. Israel was either trying to provoke a retaliation from Iran, because, like I mentioned, Iran was trying to implement a deterrence equation. It was also trying to send a message that it retains freedom of operation in Lebanon. And this is why there's also a lot of concern here. While a ceasefire would be welcomed, there is little trust that Israel will fully implement it, or at least Israel has repeatedly said it believes any ceasefire would still give it the right to strike or to act against Hezbollah, even if it sees a perceived threat.
Al Jazeera's Zaina Hodder on the line there from Beirut. Breaking news now on Al Jazeera. President Trump has just posted on Truth Social that the deal has been done. Earlier, the Wall Street Journal had reported that President Trump was planning to issue a statement imminently confirming that the U.S. had agreed to a deal with Iran. And then a few minutes later, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif tweeted saying that following intensive talks, we're pleased to announce that the peace deal between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran has been reached. Both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. Let's go live to Washington. Our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett, is there. So, Kimberly, President Trump, at last, as we've expected for the last half an hour or so.
There's two different modes Israel has here. Either this is the last big boom that they always commit to before a permanent cessation of hostilities is imminent, or Israel is totally not going to abide by this, and they're going to continue escalating to try to draw Iran back into conflict. And at a certain point, Iran is going to have to retaliate, or else Trump's calculation is correct. that they don't want the smoke. Therefore, making the ceasefire an impossibility. Because on the American side, military deterrence isn't a part of the calculation. But on the Iranian side, which is fighting an existential battle, military deterrence is an absolute necessity for the ceasefire to take place. There will never be a ceasefire if the Americans and the Israelis calculate that Iran will not retaliate and Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants. Once you establish that Lebanon is a proxy and therefore must be a part of the total ceasefire calculation, all this does, in my opinion, all this does is simply engage in the active theater in an effort to stop Iran from retaliating against Israel.
After having covered Donald Trump's first term and 2 years into his next term, this appears to be Donald Trump buying time, saving face, given the fact he said it would all happen today. And it's clear that there was a need to buy more time.
All right, Kimberly, for the moment, many thanks. Let's go to Tehran then. Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val is there for his take on what this statement from the Pakistani Prime Minister means, Mohammed, when he said that mediators will facilitate a series of meetings this week. These pre-implementation discussions will lay the foundation for the technical talks and the official signing ceremony, which we now understand is going to be on Friday this week. What are we to make of all of that?
Well, I think we make of it that President Trump has already...
No response from the Iranian side is interesting, except the Iranian media has officially announced it. But I don't know. Has the Iranian media officially announced it? Or is there some kind of manipulation taking place? I haven't seen a high-level Iranian official say anything. I do think that concessions at this point to Donald Trump without any restraint on the Israeli side from Donald Trump is utterly meaningless. Okay? I think it's utterly meaningless. Donald Trump sees even an Iranian willingness to negotiate as weakness. For the record.
Effort behind the scene by the Qataris and the Pakistanis to prevent that deterioration in the situation. So that to me is the meaning of this this announcement by President Trump, even before the preparations are over and even before the discussions and the talks about the signing are over. So, I mean, we can understand on the one hand that things are not yet ready 100%, but the sides, the Iranians and the Americans, would like to send this message and to express this strong support to the peace deal, just to make sure that the Israelis cannot stop it and cannot disrupt it.
Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val reporting live from Tehran. If you're just joining us, US President Donald Trump has confirmed that the deal with Iran has been reached. He says that the deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow. That statement coming after a tweet from Pakistan's Prime Minister saying that the deal had been completed following intensive talks. Let's bring in our correspondent, Osama bin Javed, who's on the line right now and can tell us more about what Pakistan has been saying about this. Osama?
Well, we've been getting some more details from a number of sources, both in Pakistan and in Qatar. I've just got some word from a diplomat with the knowledge of the situation telling us that the Qatari delegation is still in Tehran as this announcement has been made. It's worth noting that the Iranians are still weighing on what the words to use for their announcement of this. But as you see the words coming out of Donald Trump's social media post, it's essentially that the Strait of Hormuz will be open and the ships should start their engines. It might not be as simple as the U.S. president is putting it, but it appears there's a lot of diplomatic activity that has been taking place in the last week. Just to give you a recap of what has happened, after the Eid holidays, there have been Iranian delegations in Doha holding indirect talks with the Americans. Then there was a Qatari delegation, which was in Tehran. And at the height of that escalation that we saw a few days ago, where the Iranians were firing missiles at Tel Aviv, while they were attacking Bahrain and Kuwait and Jordan, the Qatari delegation remained there. There have been a number of visits by Pakistani officials as well. So this was a two-track, two-tier diplomacy, using every lever that was in their power. And obviously, as a diplomat with the knowledge of the situation, has told us this was essentially the vision of the leadership of Qatar, including the Qatari Emir, that they were sent there to get a deal done, to make sure that the apprehensions by various factions within Iran, especially those who are not in the favor of peace, especially those who do not trust the United States and Israel, have a voice of reason in the room, and they're able to listen to the guarantees that have been put into place that at least for the next 60-day period, whenever this deal comes into effect, we're hoping that it will be Friday, but whenever it does, for the next 60 days, there is going to be relative calm.
Your nose is whistling. It's not me, Chatter. It's the host of the Al Jazeera broadcast.
The world economy will see positive changes, and especially for this region, which has been reeling under a war of choice, it has been a
The mouth noises are coming from the fucking host, dumbass.
Participant, which has been dragged into war, they'll be able to take a sigh of relief.
Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javed on the line. There. Many thanks indeed, Osama. Let's bring in Al Jazeera's senior political analyst, Marwan Bishara. He joins us now live from Paris. Marwan, what do you make of all of this?
Well, look, I can understand the skepticism and the cynicism on the part of many because, as we've been reporting already, President Trump some 36 times have broke the news about a deal is coming, been crying deal for more than 2 months now. But finally, the deal has come. So, I mean, this is important. It's important that there is a deal, memorandum of understanding, a basic deal, general deal, guideline, whatever you want to call it. It's important that there is something in paper, that something has been reached and something is going to be signed. And that is certainly better than war. The question is, for us, yes, if this could end war, it's great. Could it then pave the way to peace? Will it bring peace? That's a far more complicated question, and that does require some skepticism, knowing the gap between the two sides. And that's why one would expect that the deal will probably be not that too many pages, and it will probably have 4 or 5 key words like Hormuz, like nuclear, like Lebanon, like regional security, and so on. But it wouldn't have more than a few adjectives and generic language, because this is meant to be a sort of a general statement lacking in detail that allows both parties to declare victory if they must, but opens the way for the next 60 days or whatever, how many days, in order to negotiate a more pronounced, if you will, roadmap to peace.
Marwan, looking at what Pakistan's Prime Minister said in his statement, both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. President Trump said that the Strait of Hormuz is open for business once again. But Pakistan's Prime Minister said that with the agreement now in place, mediators will facilitate a series of meetings this week. These pre-implementation discussions will lay the foundation for the technical talks and the official signing ceremony.
It's literally a memorandum of understanding to sign a memorandum of understanding to sign a cessation of hostilities that will then create a permanent cessation of hostilities. Literally. The MOU is supposed to be signed to sign off on a 60-day ceasefire, which would be, at the end of it, would create a permanent cessation of hostilities. This is a memorandum of understanding before the signature of a memorandum of understanding. Every step of the way, Israel will do everything in its power to destroy it.
Chaos in the Middle East. Now we are coming to some sort of a sense that this doesn't make sense anymore, and Netanyahu's grand design for the Middle East that he manipulated Trump into accepting is, of course, wishful thinking. Iran has not been destroyed. The regime has not been changed. It still has a hold in its nuclear materials.
So propaganda bullshit, it's entirely dependent on what Israel does next. Israel's the key player here. Israel has been successfully the spoiler in these endeavors. It's entirely dependent on what Israel does. Okay? Israel has successfully played the role of a deterrent, and it tried to spoil it this morning by striking Dahiyeh. Iran said they would retaliate. Trump freaked out. I don't know what they offered Iran in exchange for not retaliating, but clearly, as it stands currently, Iran is still going forward with the memorandum of understanding. So far, we haven't heard from any key Iranian leaders, just the media. So we shall see. Israelis being unhappy about it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, Trump sold out Israel. They're babies. Trump and Bibi go home. A disgrace to the state of Israel. A disgrace. The whole country needs to take the streets. What a shame. Israel news from the field. Yeah, Israelis are babies. They behave like children. They always get this way whenever there's talks of a ceasefire, because their ultimate goal is the complete destruction of Iran. And if they don't achieve that, then there is no victory. There's no victory condition for them beyond the destruction of Iran.
Well, in the Israeli media, Adrian, there is a lot of chatter. There is a lot of discussion and basically a lot of lamenting about what has happened. In fact, we saw and we tracked commentary from senior security correspondents. These are people who are usually thoroughly and accurately briefed by the Israeli security establishment. And they said that instead of collapsing.
Did this work? I can't tell. I'm trying to fix the lighting a little bit. It's really busted, unfortunately. Yeah, it's not good. Note immediate lifting of the blockade, not phased. Israeli media had reported that Trump was offering Iran that in exchange for not bombing Israel. Iran has called off the planned attack on Israel.
The Iran-U.S. talk we're seeing, Israel is expected to comply. Now, of course, the devil is in the detail. The signing, as we saw, will be on the 19th of June. That's a few days from now, and that's a lot of time to try again, if the Israeli government wants to collapse the talks or to collapse the deal altogether.
Al Jazeera's Noor Odeh reporting live there from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. For the moment, Noor, many thanks indeed. Let's go back to Washington and our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett. Kimberly, a lot seems to have happened in the last, 50 minutes. Marwan was echoing a few moments ago, Marwan Bashara, echoing your reporter's skepticism here about at least what President Trump was saying.
That's right. And, you know, I'm going to apologize and be the Debbie Downer, as we say here in the United States, and continue with that skepticism. And here's why. We've been here before. I was looking back through my notes, and Donald Trump has announced breakthroughs before. As far back as October of 2025, he said the U.S. and Iran were ready to reach an agreement. Here in Al Jazeera, June 11th, just days ago, within the last week, the U.S. president once again announcing breakthroughs and agreements with Iran before there's been any sort of implementation or signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, saying on June 11th, discussions have been approved at the highest level of the Iranian leadership. And as a result, those strikes that the U.S. was launching against Iran just in the last week, he canceled the final day of them. So the U.S. president has repeatedly since then been suggesting a deal is imminent. He said that it would be signed virtually on his birthday, today, Sunday. That obviously is not occurring, and it has a lot to do with the fact that the U.S. president outraged that the Israeli prime minister, the American ally, allegedly, basically derailed diplomacy with the attacks on Lebanon just within hours of this virtual signing that the U.S. president said would usher in 60 days of talks to reach the ultimate deal with Iran, as he called it. But given the fact that that diplomacy was derailed, my reporter skepticism in covering Donald Trump for so many years is that he needed to save face. And so he's doing one of two things. Not only is he doing that, but he's also trying to do something else he does when he projects in his true social statements what he hopes to achieve, and that is calm the oil markets. Why? It's Sunday. They're set to reopen in the coming hours. And he hasn't made good on the promise that this memorandum of understanding was going to be signed. So as a result, when the U.S. president in his true social post is saying the deal is now complete, he's aiming that at the financial market, saying, ships, start your engine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is, from the Trump side, it's very clear what's going on. Obviously, he wants the markets to recover, the markets to breathe. And this is a huge concession from the Iranian side to Donald Trump. What they got in exchange, we will find out. Far as the official statement for the Secretary to the Supreme National Revolution Council about the ceasefire agreement will be released shortly. According to this report, after the attack on Dahia, an area of Beirut, Iran canceled this negotiation and was preparing to attack the Zionist regime. However, in the end, with last-minute concessions offered by Donald Trump, including preserving Lebanon's territorial integrity, Israel's withdrawal from the Lebanese border, and the immediate lifting of the siege, Iran was persuaded to refrain from carrying out its attack. It was also decided that the legal system for navigation in the Persian Gulf would be arranged in cooperation between Iran and Oman. So, Iran called off a planned attack on Israel in retaliation for strikes on Beirut following intervention by President Trump. So Iran is saying that there's a toll system still. It has been decided that marine traffic through the Gulf will be regulated by Iran in coordination with Oman. Iran will still control the strait. And a complete withdrawal from Lebanon, from the Lebanese borders, that seems insanely unlikely. I mean, the entire point of this last Dahia attack by Israel was to deliver a big fuck you to Iran. I don't think Israel is going to retreat from even striking Dahia. I suspect Israel won't even stop doing that in an effort to spoil it. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister, the immediate and permanent end of the war and military operations on various fronts, including Lebanon, will be announced starting tonight. No nuclear deal, market manipulation. Iran gets to build nukes for 60 days undeterred based on this deal. Yeah, but they never were going to do that anyway.
As they are ready for peace. I'm saying this even though I don't know yet what that official statement from the Supreme National Council will say, whether it is going to agree and accept what President Trump has just announced, or whether it is going to say something contrary to that. But the understanding is that this delay and this subsiding of the war rhetoric over the last couple of hours after the Iranians announced that the finger is on the trigger and that the response is coming shortly. Those are Iranian leaders saying that just a few hours ago. Now there is some hushing of this language. And we have talks, we have the Iranians saying to the news agencies that the leaders here are discussing and discussing these statements by the Americans. So understandably, there is something going on, not just the war rhetoric, not probably the strikes, something related to the peace deal. We don't know what it is, but it is something different from the language of just a few hours ago.
And Mohammed, while you've been speaking to me, so you won't have seen it, Iran's deputy foreign minister, according to Newswires, has said that the immediate and permanent end to the war and military operations on various fronts, including Lebanon, will be announced starting tonight. He's also quoted as saying that from tonight, the end of the U.S. naval blockade against Iran will begin.
Well, that means that the Iranians have now balanced their act. They have come to the conclusion that probably this announcement of a peace deal tonight is going to be a much stronger blow to the Israeli disruption process than retaliation with missiles. The understanding now is that the Iranians are going to go along with the Americans in this process, and there will be discussion.
According to reformist-affiliated Entekhab, the Beirut strike may have become a turning point in the negotiations. The claim is that Kalibaf informed Trump via Qatar that the talks were being suspended. Trump then allegedly intervened directly and offered additional concessions, including on Lebanon, not clear which one, to keep the process alive. I mean, but the whole point of it was initially that if Israel strikes Beirut, if Israel strikes Lebanon, then Iran strikes Israel. I don't see this happening. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see Israel retreat from Lebanese borders.
Interesting what he said. He said, we will not bow down to any power, but we consider ourselves responsible and accountable to the Iranian people and their legitimate demands. Of course, by people, we mean all the people of Iran, not a specific movement or group. This, I think, answers to your question. There is anticipation and there is high expectations, high hopes pinned on the Iranian government to come to listen to the voice of reason and to consider the suffering of the Iranian people. There is a lot of voices that haven't even been expressed since the beginning of this war. The huge component of the population who are not only opposed to the government, but also opposed to probably the approach that has been taken over the last several decades in the Middle East by the Iranian leadership, and they think that it's because of the Iranian policies in the region that Iran is suffering the way it is suffering today. So these statements by the Iranian president indicate that there is some listening happening, some listening going on to the people in the street, to their demands, to their needs. Not all of them are on board. Not all of them are supporting this war, even if they didn't talk about it. And those who support it, many of them support it out of a feeling of nationalism, not because they support it in principle, even though it is a war of aggression and it hasn't been triggered or started by Iran itself, but they think that Iran could have avoided it has it adopted different policies in the region and in its relationship with it.
Does this mean Iran abandoned Lebanon? I don't know, because for all intents and purposes, Donald Trump says there's a deal. Iran says there's a deal. And Iran says, or at least the Iranian side is saying, that, I mean, Iran's deputy foreign minister says the text of the MOU will be published after official signing. Iran's deputy foreign minister says MOU does not mean trust in the enemy. Iran's deputy foreign minister, negotiations for final deal will be held in a period of 60 days. And the claim is that Trump is going to force. The claim on the Iranian side is that Donald Trump is going to force Israel to retreat from Lebanon. I don't believe it. I will believe it when I see it. I think Israel will do exactly what it's done so far, which is keep bombing Dahiyeh, keep bombing Beirut, keep pushing into Lebanon.
Free opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. Iran's deputy foreign minister has responded in the last few minutes. He says that the immediate and permanent end to the war and military operations on various fronts, including Lebanon, will be announced starting tonight. Well, mediators Pakistan have also announced that the peace deal is happening. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said in a statement, following intensive talks, we're pleased to announce that the peace deal between the United States of America and Islamic Republic of Iran has been reached. Both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. The official signing ceremony will be on Friday, the 19th of June in Switzerland. With the agreement now in place, mediators will facilitate a series of meetings this week. These pre-implementation discussions will lay the foundation for the technical talks and the official signing ceremony. Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val is live for us in Iran's capital, Tehran. Noor Odeh is following Israeli reaction from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. And Al Jazeera's White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett, is live for us in Washington. Kimberly, let's start with you. Walk us through what has happened in the last hour with this, first of all, a Wall Street Journal report stating that President Trump was going to make an announcement, and then he did. What did he say?
That's right. I've been in touch with the White House back and forth in the last few minutes, trying to just nail down where things stand and how all of this is playing out. And what is clear is that there is a breakthrough here in terms of the agreement with Iran, even if the timetable and what we expected might happen is now looking a little bit different. And as you point out, that has a lot to do with events that have transpired in the last few hours. What happened in the last hour is that the Wall Street Journal here in the United States began reporting that the U.S. president would issue the statement you just read out, that there had been an agreement reached between the United States and Iran, and that the U.S. president in that announcement doing a couple of things he said wouldn't happen until that memorandum of understanding was signed. But again, because of the incident that occurred hours earlier, that attack by the Israeli military in Lebanon, it did start to look like things were falling apart and that there would not be that agreement that the U.S. president suggested would be signed on Sunday and that would be signed virtually. But we now know, given the fact that the U.S. president has put out this statement, that the agreement still stands despite any attempts to derail diplomacy. Things are in place, but that virtual signing is not going to take place on Sunday. But according to Pakistan's prime minister, it will now take place in Switzerland on June 19th, and that there will be discussions leading up to June 19th in order to get things, those T's crossed and those I's dotted in the memorandum of understanding. So this is significant because the U.S. president promising that by Sunday there would be a deal laid out, and now announcing in the last hour that that deal with Iran has been finalized.
In his Truth Social post, the president said that the Strait of Hormuz is open. Just how important is that for him and for the United States right now?
You can't underscore how important it is having the Strait of Hormuz open for the U.S. president. There are a couple of reasons why. First of all, Donald Trump is keenly aware of financial markets, and being that this is Sunday night, those financial markets are opening up in Asia, and then it will continue on. And this announcement, many in the financial world, the oil traders, the insurers, were all holding their breath, waiting for this signing to happen, and also for the Strait of Hormuz to be open, for the U.S. to end its blockade. If that didn't happen, the impact on the financial markets would be devastating. So Donald Trump, knowing that, was good on his promise that this would be delivered on Sunday. But he also had another reason he needed to do that, and that was because of domestic pressure here in the United States, not just because of the price of oil and the concern that that would translate into higher consumer prices, but also politically. The U.S. president not only under enormous pressure to deliver on this deal because of his Democratic critics, but also for those hawks within his own Republican Party who insisted the U.S. president needed to get this done.
Earlier when we were talking, Kimberly, you sounded a note of skepticism about all of this. What are we to read into the fact that this announcement that the deal has been done comes on President Trump's 80th birthday?
Well, there's no question that it seemed like the Israeli Prime Minister delivered not a very nice birthday gift to Donald Trump on his 80th birthday. No question about that. And there is reason to be skeptical of this accomplishment, given the fact that Donald Trump has announced before that an agreement has been reached with Iran, only to see it derailed. And so the skepticism isn't just on the part of the media. There are also Donald Trump's critics that will also suggest that as well. But the bottom line in all of this is that what Donald Trump often does is, and this is why he's called the deal maker, is that he projects what he wants to have happen. And in this case, there may be an element of that, but at the same time, and I don't want to step on the toes of my Iranian colleague who's coming after me, it does appear that some of what has been agreed to is now starting to be confirmed from the other side.
Al Jazeera's White House correspondent Kimberly Halkett reporting live from Washington. Kimberly, I'm sure we'll be back with you within the hour. Within the last few moments, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, Qasem Garibabadi, has been giving an interview to a local Iranian television channel. We were reporting on some of the things he said about 10 or 15 minutes ago. That interview has gone on, and the Deputy Foreign Minister has said that this memorandum of understanding doesn't mean that there's trust in the enemy. He said, "We did not agree to the MOU until we incorporated our final demands into the text." He said that Iran's armed forces will always, quote, "have their finger on the trigger," and that the 60-day period negotiations will focus on the ending of sanctions. Let's go live once again to Tehran. Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val is there for us. So we've been hearing from the Iranian president today, as well as military commanders. What are we to make of all the comments that are coming out of Tehran right now, particularly from the Deputy Foreign Minister?
Well, I think he struck a positive note in his statements to balance those that you have just mentioned about suspicion and about precaution and so on. He struck a positive note in some of the lines here. He said, "Today we spent long hours with the Qatari delegation in Tehran to discuss the memorandum of understanding and our observations on it. Two issues will happen immediately as of this morning. The first is the end of the war on all fronts, permanently and immediately on all fronts, including Lebanon. The second is the lifting and termination of the naval blockade that the United States had imposed on the Islamic Republic of Iran." And then he said after that, Iran's commitments will begin after the official signing on Friday. It's interesting that this day has seen the utmost level of alert and emergency feelings here in Iran. Escalation imminent with the Israelis, and hours later, just a few hours later, we have this language coming from the Iranian leaders, that understanding that they have agreed to this memorandum of understanding and that they have agreed to begin the implementation starting from this morning. So this is something that is going to supersede most of the rhetoric that has been repeated throughout the day and the last few days, but it's not going to be a final mood here in Tehran. There will be suspicion all the time, as you mentioned in his statements. There will always be suspicion towards the Americans until they see a final peace implemented and until they see the Americans make good on their promises within the framework of this memorandum of understanding.
To what extent, Mohammed, might Iran feel that it's been railroaded into this deal? What concessions might Iran have been forced to make to get this deal?
Well, up until now, they are refusing to admit that they have been forced to give any major concessions. Quite to the contrary, they are saying that all the points, or most of the points, at least those that are in the memorandum of understanding, boil down to something that is good for the future of Iran, the lifting of the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, and they are still talking about future ability for Iran to collect fees on the ships passing, even though the Americans are saying no toll is going to be involved in that situation. So this is something that is not finalized. The Iranians are saying only good things about the Memorandum of Understanding, the including of Lebanon, if it holds, if it
Listen. If Israel continues the posture, which I expect it to, that means that Iran just gave a birthday gift to Trump and they're dominating Iran. If Israel actually retreats from Lebanon, as is being discussed on Iranian media, then Donald Trump made the boss call to Israel finally. Judging by past performance, I don't expect this deal to hold. I don't understand it. I don't know what kind of concessions America offered Iran. There you have it. Netanyahu told Trump the IDF will not withdraw from Lebanon and that Israel does not consider itself bound by the Lebanon clause in the U.S.-Iran agreement. Right as I was in the midst of explaining this, senior Iranian political source tells Amwaj Media, as concession following Israel's attack on Beirut, Trump agreed to expedite the lifting of the naval blockade. The U.S. blockade will not be lifted immediately until 24 hours ago. Plan was to phase it out over 30 days. Iran will also end restrictions on maritime traffic immediately, whereas the previous plan was to do so gradually. There's a 98% chance the Trump team will deny that any last-minute concessions whatsoever were offered. So there's nothing on the Lebanese front. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This is looking like major concessions from Iran, which will backfire on them. You're just giving Trump the upper hand for no reason. And Trump does not see that as a good faith negotiation. Trump sees that as a concession born out of your weakness. And perhaps he's right. No one is more shocked than Kaya. I'm as shocked as Kaya. That was crazy, man. Glad to see this is where your focus is right now, you know? While we're covering adult events. A comedian in our midst. Israel's withdrawal from the Lebanese border looks very much like it will not be signed until Israel is compelled to withdraw from Lebanon, which brings us straight back to the problem of incorrect assessments. The two sides have left the ball in a third party's court, and that third party does not want any fucking deal. Yeah, you know, the entire bombing Beirut. Try and spoil us into full conflict with the hopes of destroying Iran. Yes, I know what the Iran deputy foreign minister is saying. It doesn't really mean much. I'll be honest. It doesn't mean anything at all. Who's won the situation? Nobody. This is just an additional concession that Iran gave the United States of America, just a birthday gift that Iran gave to the United States of America, and a birthday fuck you that Benjamin Netanyahu gave to the United States of America.
Hezbollah sites in response to the group firing into northern Israel. Lebanon has been a major sticking point in the negotiations with Israel.
Marandi saying that Israel will withdraw from Lebanon is, I'm sorry to say this, utterly fucking meaningless. Okay? Utterly meaningless. Even the foreign minister of Iran saying America gave us assurances that Israel will withdraw is utterly fucking meaningless unless they have the sufficient military deterrence to back up, to actually force Israel to do this. It's not, this is, I'm sorry, this is just wish casting. Okay? This is just wish casting. Netanyahu's stupidity broke the deadlock at the negotiating table. Contrary to some speculation, there was no final text until his criminal attack forced Trump to accept Iran's demands, especially on Lebanon. Yeah, except he's not going to, Benjamin Netanyahu's not going to retreat on Lebanon.
It's going to be with us for a while.
Until they do.
Rapport, appreciate the time and perspective.
Until Israel withdraws from Lebanon, even though Netanyahu just said he will not withdraw from Lebanon. If Israel does not withdraw from Lebanon and Iran does not actually establish military deterrence once again, then all Iran did was concede to Israel's demands and America's demands. That's it. The demand to open the Strait of Hormuz.
Agreement or an agreement of some kind. We will follow the details here in the CNN newsroom.
Yeah. I know. Iran Deputy of Foreign Ministry. MOU will be signed Friday in Switzerland. Delegation heads will discuss arrangements for future talks. U.S. commitments, ending the war, lifting the blockade, releasing assets will be verified. Entering 60-day negotiations is conditional upon U.S. fulfilling these commitments. Why would Iran agree? I don't know.
To end, and that's what we're seeing happen. And certainly there's a lot of pressure, not just from the U.S. side, not just from the Iranian side.
I mean, my honest assessment of it, do you want to know why I think Iran agreed? Because America fucking bribed them. That's what I think. I think America gave him a sweetheart amount of unfrozen assets that gave them enough confidence. That was what I suspected could happen, as I warned about over and over again. You know? I suspect that's what took place.
Businesses, they do not want to see the war ended. So it would not be surprising if in days to come you hear about drone strikes, missile attacks. Remains to be seen. Is this a memorandum of understanding that we're signing here for the next 60 days, a wait-and-see effect? I think everybody needs to take a breath here just to see how this deal works itself out, because we've been here before, maybe not with a full signing of something, but before we pop the champagne here, particularly in the West, we.
If Israel refuses to retreat, doesn't that free Iran to strike Israel without America intervening? They have the deterrence, don't they? They have plenty of missiles, and America's shortage on defensive missiles is the reason America might decide not to defend Israel and claim it's Israel's responsibility to leave Lebanon. Yeah, I don't think that that's ever going to happen. I think America would defend Israel down to the bone. Okay? I don't think there's a world where America tells, because you know what's easier for America to do? Get Israel to retreat from Lebanon. A country that can't stop its junior partner in air quotes, from retreating on its belligerent foreign policy in the region, when the cost is not only for America far too great, but the rest of the world far too great, is not going to stop defending that country militarily. America will literally deplete their munitions till the very end to defend Israel. The much simpler move here would be to restrain Israel, which America's not doing.
The crux of that. And what we've seen actually in the last 48 hours is Hezbollah continuing to launch rockets into Israel. And so what we have to see in the next few days, of course, while Iran and the United States say that there's a ceasefire,
Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Gharibabadi. Yesterday, a Qatari delegation was in Tehran to help finalize the negotiations. More than 15 hours of talks were held, during which we proposed amendments that were ultimately accepted. 2 immediate steps must take place in the early hours of this morning. First, an immediate and permanent end to the war on all fronts, including Lebanon. And second, the end of the naval blockade. Our own commitments under the agreement will take effect beginning on Friday. Despite successive official denials by the Americans based on parts of the negotiations, the UAE is committed to releasing $10 to $20 billion of Iran's financial resources, with the recent $3 billion shipment counting as the first part of this agreement. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think they just decided they're not going to punish Israel if Israel does whatever the fuck it wants in exchange for money. The money in and of itself is seemingly a good enough sweetener for the Iranian side to believe that America will abide by some kind of long-standing commitment, which they won't. We're at the bone. We don't have enough missiles left to defend. Okay, chatter. I don't disagree with you. I think that America's munitions have been depleted. However, don't you think that a much better way to save face in this circumstance would be for Donald Trump to restrain Israel? This way, Benjamin Netanyahu gets to say, look, what can we do? We got restrained by the United States of America. This way, Trump looks good in the United States of America. It's literally a win-win-win. So the fact that they're not doing it means that Israel, I think, still is seeking out the continuation of the conflict. Israel's goals here have always been to draw the United States into more and more escalation that will lead to a full-blown military invasion of Iran. No matter what the cost is to the rest of the region, no matter what the cost is to the United States of America, this has been Israel's goal, because Israel recognized early on that they didn't have enough espionage capabilities to infiltrate Iranian society and cause mass unrest and protests. The Iranians, with their unbelievably heavy hand, were able to basically destroy that movement and kill a bunch of civilian protesters on the side as well, for sure. And outside of that, Iranian nationalism took root after the American-Israeli bombing, which then further eroded any kind of civil unrest. The different ethnic groups that Israel thought it could rely on chose not to intervene. Yeah. The memorandum period is going to look a lot like the ceasefire period did. Everyone testing the lines of what they've actually agreed to, but the economic pressure on both sides is reduced. That's what I think as well, which is, again, as Trita correctly analyzed last time the ceasefire took place, is very bad for Iran. It shreds the Iranian leverage. Every day that the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, Iran gains more leverage. Every day that the Strait of Hormuz is open, Iran loses said leverage. This is somewhat of an admission on the other side of the story that, we didn't cover that much, that Trump constantly postured about, which is the effectiveness of the Trump blockade. Part of the reason why I think the Trump blockade must have been somewhat effective, because if it wasn't, Iran would not have been open to ending the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz.
Put more of this into context. Let's speak now to Trita Parsi, an international relations expert and the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute, responsible for statecraft. Welcome to BBC News. There were a few moments through the course of the last few hours where we all wondered whether this deal would actually get over the line, particularly after what we saw in Lebanon. Are you surprised that they've managed to reach this agreement?
I'm relieved. I'm not surprised. At the end of the day, I thought that the structure of the situation was such that the two sides really, really needed this type of a de-escalatory exit out of this war that should never have been started in the first place. But this was clearly a last-ditch effort by the Israeli prime minister to not only destroy any deal between the U.S. and Iran, but also destroy any deal between Israel and Hezbollah and make sure that he could continue the war over there. I suspect that behind the scenes, beyond some stern language, the United States actually put some real pressure on the Israelis and some threats, and perhaps also gave some additional concessions to the Iranians in order to get the deal without the Iranians retaliating against Israel.
And in terms...
So what would have been the alternative? I mean, the alternative option from the Iranian side is to nix the deal. Was to nix the deal and reestablish military deterrence against Israel. That was the alternative from the Iranian side, as they said they would. Because remember, when you set red lines and you don't follow on them, Israel learns a very important lesson. And that lesson is, you ain't shit. They're going to continue doing what they're doing. Okay? And Israel is very good at violating those red lines to see what they can get away with. And as we've seen from the last 3 years, the only language Israel responds to is militancy. First, they fight back hard. And once the pain and losses are far too much, they change their risk profile. They change their risk analysis and they retreat. They'll do one last big bang and they'll inevitably retreat. Why are you assuming that this is a tangible deal that all parties will adhere to? I'm not. I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying that it's not a tangible deal that all parties will listen to. I'm saying the exact opposite. You're not hearing me.
Damn, this guy's good.